Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 509.
509?
You betcha.
That's a lot.
It is. And I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, wow, 500 episodes. They clearly weren't on board with many of them, newer to the scene, which I completely understand. And then I did kind of reflect, and I know you've said this in the past, and I didn't put much stock in it. Surprise, surprise. 509, and then we do an after show, which sometimes is, another hour to 2 hours. I guess you could say it does maybe feel closer like to 1,000 on any given, and it feels like probably 1,000 years to some of you, but nonetheless, yes, 509. 509 of anything. I know we talked about this a few weeks ago too, about events played, about events won. 509 of anything is a lot.
Yeah. It really is.
Even dollar bills.
So I'm announcing my
what do you got?
Chance to get rid of you.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have other suitors.
No, you don't. Let's be honest.
All right, fine. Well, when we started this way back in the day, and we thought about things like, I don't know, segments. We thought about having ways to have like a cohesive, talk show, podcast, like overall structure. One of the obvious choices for us was to have a little segment with a good friend of ours who's just south of the border from Wisconsin down in Illinois. He's got plenty of insight, plenty of history, plenty of background. He's moved around a few times and he's got lots of stories and he's a little bit old school. And with that, we've got an old school introduction because we're going to welcome in Dynamite. Let's.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Dynamite, welcome into the show, buddy. How you doing?
T-Dog, Johnny V, I'm doing well, thank you.
It's good to have you back. We chat about you frequently. We mention you. We bring things up, whether good and it's rarely bad.
Rarely. You're always such a key point of reference in so many ways. And I feel like we had you, was it probably a few months ago? Time flies, but was it a few months ago we had you?
Yeah, sometime over the winter, joined you guys on a nice night for a nice chat.
Okay. Well, it seems about right then. From going from just about a weekly ordeal to every few months, it should be even more often. But welcome into the show.
Kids do that.
Some random things to catch up on tonight. In case you already saw it, spoiler alert, we're also going to have Paige Pierce. Paige is going to come on at about the 9 o'clock Central hour. She said she wanted to make most of her daylight in getting things done. She's in Pensacola. She wanted to get as many things done as possible during daylight, the daylight that was out there and provided. I don't know if that's practice, course prep, if that's stuff in the backyard, what that might mean, we'll find out from her later. But until then, Dana, we can chit-chat and get caught up with you. I'll lob it out there. Here's the easiest one of the night. What do you got that's new?
Man, I mean, me, or are we talking tournaments? We're going old school, tournaments from last weekend, things that I'm pointing out, or me personally, like...
Let's go heavy. We'll go. Here's a heavy hitter. Here's one I actually put an ounce of thought into that came about in the last 6 days. There's so much criticism and eye rolling and frustrations and throwing up your hands and turning off the TV and everything else when we go to ball golf courses by a lot of the watchers out there. A lot of viewers like another ball golf course. It's just often said. We just played at OTB. We were just at the Dynamic Disc Open, and obviously so many others that we've either seen or will see. And they all elicit some of these responses almost all the time. What is it about Glendevere, this East and West course, where now it not only gets a pass, but it gets, by and large, great reviews because, yes, we're here. This place is amazing. How does that happen?
Trees.
I think Johnny just took all my thunder there, but yeah, I mean, you're out in the Pacific Northwest and playing through just massive trees. It's a beautiful sight. And then one of the things that I think we see a lot more of at Glendoveer versus maybe some of the other golf courses that the Pro Tour is playing at is quite a few mandatories. And I think back to the first year we were at Glendoveer, which I actually went out and played. I think that was 2020, and tried to play, I should say. That course was way too long, and I ended up injuring my arm and my only DNF of my career. It was pretty heartbreaking for me, but yeah, it's a really long course. But that year there wasn't mandatory, so you could kind of cheat your way and go around the trees versus kind of hitting some gaps and throwing some more golf shots, if you will. But I think we've got it's just a gorgeous place to play disc golf. You're in the Northwest. The vibes they're high. There's huge crowds. There's good elevation. I'd say that course scratches a lot of the itches that, whether it's a fan or whether you're a player, that you want to see from a hybrid disc golf, ball golf layout.
Yeah, it's so green and lush, and obviously you've got all these trees, but rarely ever do you have trees that you get stuck in because the branches are up so high, because all you see are these giant tree trunks. Throughout the entire course, these 100 and 150 foot trees. It is a really beautiful course, and it's one of the reasons that I love disc golf in general is the variety of courses we play on. I say it every year. I love, this is great because, I mean, it might rain 2 out of 3 years at this course at some point, but it's not thunderstorms. We're probably not getting lightning where you're at. It is just a general rain. And then you go to Emporia, you've got the openness in the wind. You go to the East Course, you've got the tight courses. You go, down to you go down to Olympus, where you've got elevation changes for Florida. Just in general, we have such a good variety, and I think this scratches an itch that you don't see anywhere else on tour.
And let me be very clear. I am not dismissing any efforts or any of the organizing committees or truly even any of the courses at all whatsoever with this, and I know others want to, and that's fine if they want to. I find it interesting that there is such a switch in mentality, though, from some of the other ball golf courses. Like I said, we were just at OTB Open, which by and large sounded like a really good fan viewer experience. Obviously, tons of really thought out and insightful holes in terms of how they design it, and taking feedback and things into place, making for this incredible fan experience. But it doesn't get anywhere near the love that we do in Portland. And kudos to everyone in Portland, and kudos to everyone else that's running event. It's funny how almost fickle it seems like we can just flip a switch, and one day we hate ball golf courses, the next day we love it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and on the topic of different flavors and courses and everything, I'm asking myself, when are we going to see? I know we go in the woods for at Northwoods, at Idlewild, touch it out on the East Coast and the Northeast, but when are we going to see a tournament, of disc golf pro tour tournament on like an old school course? Like I think of here in Illinois, McNaughton, like just to go and have a shootout of old style courses with different throws where the disc, you're seeing a lot more fairways and mids and maybe even putters off tees. Like even if they're shooting 16 under for a round and it's only 1070 rated, like would that be fun to watch?
Yeah.
Or if you think
we've talked about this.
Go back to the Cascade Challenge last weekend, and it kind of feels that way. It's considered short. It was only 8,200 feet. That's right there on par with like a Waco, and it wasn't about distance drivers. It was about fairways and mids and hitting gaps. The one thing it lacks is some elevation, but I think by and large that's why that Cascade course over in Shelton Springs was so highly regarded and revered And I think there's a lot of players that will want to see that potentially back on the tour. Unfortunately, it's in an area that doesn't have a ton of hotels and a lot of other things. And then there's a stretch on the course where the cellular signal gets challenged. And I know we've got ways to kind of address that now. But I think that's exactly what you're talking about, is going back to a place like Shelton Springs, because everybody seemed to love that course. Viewers, fans, spectators, and then the players themselves. But this year, being a Q Series event, we didn't get the draw of names. So I don't know if that maybe does that. Does a De-La fix that? You said McNaughton over in Illinois, I know, but does a De-La come to mind?
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
Or I mean, look to this weekend in Estacada.
Okay.
Milo, the two courses, and I think that the level of play has exceeded, it's just crazy how good players are and how they would tear these courses up. But I mean, what if it wasn't this combo course of the two courses, or the 27 holes that they have out there, and it's the two standard 18s that they've previously done for a world championship out there, and then many Beaver State Flings. Maybe that's a place where you don't combine it and stretch it out and max it. I haven't played the course layout that they're playing this weekend, and I'm sure it's awesome. So maybe this is the wrong place to bring it up. But that thought crossed my mind, was like, man, they're Milo this weekend. I wonder what it would be like if they were playing what we used to see 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of, obviously, when we're talking about some of these, you go to the silver events that we've had, you go to the now Q Series, all those courses kind of just jump out, and some of those are very nostalgic. You think about the history that's in a Kansas City, where we've seen various courses at the KC Wide Open. I mean, think when Waterworks, and now we can't play Swope, but Waterworks was kind of one of the premier courses that we saw at the KC Wide Open, and that isn't even in play here for a Q Series event, because they're using I think it's Bad Rock Creek, which is what they used last year. But and I think of a Pittsburgh where we had a Worlds just back in 2015, and some of the courses that got used out there, or when we were in Allentown in 2005 in Pennsylvania, and you saw Jordan Creek and Tinicum and some of the other courses, Nakamixon. Yeah, it would be.
And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't think it could be a pro tour event, but it would be kind of fun to see one of these older courses and make it a Q Series or a silver, whatever you want to call it these days, and say no drivers, mids and below.
Ooh.
Just throw it back a little bit, because you don't want to go by date, because it's like, oh, you can't use anything after 1999. That's silly, because half these manufacturers weren't around. But if you did say something along the lines of, hey, blunt edge discs only, nothing sharp edge, you don't get any sort of fairways, any drivers, you just have to play with your mids and your putters. I think that could be really interesting. As not as a pro tour event, because I don't think you could fly there, although it would be fun. Bring it more towards something like that for the Q Series, because isn't that what we're trying to prove? Trying to find someone who deserves to be on tour? Shouldn't we be, in theory, challenging all their skills and things like that? I might be stretching a little bit on that, but I do think it would be kind of fun.
I mean, there was
I hear what
Superclass,
you're saying, but maybe not on the Q Series, because you're trying to get on to play those big courses, and so maybe it does make sense to have it kind of mimic what the Pro Tour, mostly is.
I just think if you don't make it somewhat inviting, no one's going to come these days.
Yeah, Johnny, I think it would be a lot of fun to watch something where you're limited on the rim size.
And then right at the Preserve. The Preserve would be honestly an ideal place, because it is like a birdie fest out there. So to force the players to have to scale back would be interesting.
Or while we're at it, I mean, if we're going to get silly with it, this is a tangent right to testing out a smaller basket, like a marksman basket. This is also or going back to a whole Mach 1 with a single chain basket.
We've seen the commercials with the Glitch World Championships coming up. That's kind of similar. But.
Yeah, there's some ideas buried in there. The problem is, as fun as they sound and appealing as they sound to us, us three older players that have been around for at least 25 years or so, it may not seem nearly as intriguing to thousands of others who we need to have watch. But
I don't know, man. You're telling me
people would.
I think you would see people tune in and be hyped, and then we could see, thinking about manufacturers like hyping up mid ranges and talk, like just this whole. It'd be a whole. I don't know. This is fun to talk.
All right. I mean, does this kind of scratch the itch? Like Johnny was just saying, Glitch World Championships, the Polecat Championships. We saw Matty O's in the what's the Latitude the Bite World Championship last year, all coming to mind. I mean, those are kind of some spin-offs that are almost in that neighborhood, but I don't know. All right, there's an idea. Dana, we're talking old folks. You're not quite as old as Johnny and I. You're a couple of years younger.
You're catching up to us, right? That's how it works?
Yep. I saw on a registration list of someplace I'm attending, and that's Emporia. I saw on a registration list for the World Championships in the MP40 division, one Dana Vicich. Wow. What? I don't want to say what the plan is, because I know what the plan is. The plan is to win. That's obvious. Tell us how you've come about to head to Emporia to join so many of these other people you grew up either playing against or admiring or watching or battling with. Tell us how's that decision come about to be at the Worlds next week?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this when I was on over the winter, and I hinted at, hey, I'd like to get out and play more. And I've played a couple Masters tournaments early season, but got busy with kids and everything since then. But yeah, I'm signed up to go to Emporia and compete in the MP40 division. And I haven't played a world championship since Peoria. And then just
19.
Was that 19? I think that was 19.
That was 19. Okay.
Yeah, which was a blast. Home state world championship. But yeah, I'm going to go out there and see how I match up to some of the best players that are 39, 40 or older.
Because this is a little bit of a limited group. What, assuming you're shooting well, it's third round, and let's just assume you're on the lead card.
Wow, nice job.
Yep. Who are some of the names that you'd love to wake up that next afternoon, go out and battle against? Who are some of the names that immediately come to mind that you'd love to see on that card with you?
Gosh, I mean, we're talking about a list of players that I'm competing against that I've been friends with for a while, that I've worked with, that I've traveled with, that I've looked up to. So I mean, there's a lot of names that come to mind, but I've got to go with some of my close friends, guys that I've shared hotels, Airbnbs, floors, cross country road trips, and that's Paul Oman, Kale LaVisca, Shasta. And then I just keep looking, but I keep looking at the list, and I see Dutchy, Batman, Danny Polk. I haven't played with him in forever. EMAC. I don't know if I've ever played with Joe Revere.
He probably just beat you.
He's got a reputation as just a straight killer and grinder and gamer. I've been around him. I've watched him play and seen him play for years. So obviously the thing to say is like, yeah, it'd be great to be on lead card and doesn't matter. But yeah, I think the close friends that I spit out there at the beginning would be awesome to see on a lead card. And if I'm not up there at the end of the week, I'm hoping it's one of my inner circle friends, and if not, it's likely going to be one of those people that I've have a close relationship or had or looked up to. So I'm looking forward to seeing how I stack up. And when you can wake up and only have to worry about playing disc golf, that's pretty special. And I haven't had I don't have that too often these days. So I say that, and I'm also going to be working while I'm there, as that is our new, or my new home office / headquarters for House of Disc. So I'll be mixing a little bit of work and play, which is, I think, kind of to go on, which I think is kind of nice, because like, what else am I going to do what do you do all day if you're not working or with your family or what else, what else to do other than work, sell Frisbees, have some meetings?
Yeah, that was my follow-up is kind of how do you predict your days to go? I mean, of course, you're teeing off at like 3:30 every afternoon on that lead card, but before that, after that, what other kind of hats will you be wearing as an employee and as a competitor, but more so as an employee?
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a number of meetings on my calendar. We've got colleagues coming over from Europe. Got some colleagues coming in from Colorado. So look forward to getting FaceTime with them. Some of which that I see once a year or less, and a couple of the others coming in from Colorado are a handful of times a year. So looking forward to seeing those guys, those people, and then continuing to build the relationships in Emporia with my colleagues there, and learn the ropes, and including different discs, and going in the warehouse, picking things out, and if I'm selling it, I want to know everything about every line of discs. So it'll be good to get there and get some more discs in my hands, and also just learn and hopefully get some good things done.
Yeah,
and win a title.
Of course. I was just going to say, I hope that as a guy who was exclusively been Discmania for the last handful of years, that when then you become part of House of Disc, and then you're talking about expanding by 3 or 4 different companies and brands, of course the pay raise would follow. I mean, all that new stuff you have to know and learn about all these other discs. I would hope that the pay raise followed suit. Right?
T-Dog, I've been disc golf rich for years, so that ain't gonna change.
Good. Well, good. I like to hear that.
We used to send Dana money back in the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope you claim that on your taxes.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we'll have some Disc Golf Rich lightweight hoodies. I'll have them along. Packed them along with Tom McManus today, in fact. So they'll be down there at the last moment. I committed to having a vendor booth there during the final Fly Mart night that takes place at the Worlds next week on Friday night over at the vendor party. So I've got some merch, including some Disc Golf Rich lightweights, all inspired by none other than Dynamite. So clearly it's going to be a busy week. We're talking almost 900 people when it's all said and done. You have the AMs and the pros. We've seen disc golf and Worlds in so many iterations, obviously, over the last 40 or so years. But just kind of zooming out and looking at this model of the 40-plus divisions, AM and pro, all together, is that, you feel like, the way it needs to continue? Do you feel like AMs and pros together? Is it more about the ages being similar? Is that more important versus the AM versus pros, or what happens when there's a huge waiting list like there is, I think, on the AM side, and there's some AMs that are ultimately, I think, on the waiting list or turned away? Any insight or thought on that? Yeah,
I mean, I like the inclusion of the pro and AM together, and I think that's it. it's not the Pro World Championship. So obviously, lots of people are here to win a world championship, but it's also I see it as a bit of a celebration of disc golf and people who play disc golf and come into a host community and seeing what, eating at the restaurants and going to the breweries and playing their courses and all that. And so I'm all for it as long as, it's a good place to host it. And I did see that there's a lot on the amateur side that probably would have liked to get in, but weren't able to. And unfortunately that's sometimes how it goes. But I'm all for bringing everybody together. Where if we're talking on the FPO and MPO side, maybe it makes more sense to be standalone. But how incredible if I dare to dream again, how incredible would another combined worlds be? And I mean, it'd just be, I don't know if it could pull it off with the amount of people and courses and staff and just the resources. Like that would take a heck of a crew and a heck of a place to pull it off. But man, that would be fun.
I think you'd almost have to have two different crews in the same area, almost. Like you'd have a pro crew maybe within, like, we would say 100 miles. We'd try to find a combined within 100 miles. It wouldn't necessarily be, you're not playing the same courses. A Charlotte comes to mind because you could probably host all those people. You could have the pro courses, you could have the AM courses, and even that would be, that's closer than 100 miles. But there's only a few places that could honestly host a combined these days with the amount of space. There's a handful of cities. I think if you could get a city to do it and then have two crews, I think it's possible. I wouldn't hold my breath for it, but it would just be if I'll say this, if the PDGA is really serious about the look of spectators, that's the way to do it, man. You have MPO finish on Sunday and the amateurs finish on Saturday. You'd have those fairways.
Get another
lined.
1,000 people at least, hopefully, to come on out and easily spectate. But you're talking, 400 AM over 40s. I know you're talking right now 400 pros over 40. Then you're talking anywhere from 400 to 1,000 straight up AMs, and then you're talking about juniors, and then you're adding in 300 actual pros. I mean, you're talking a 2,000 person event, which we've seen places like Ledgestone and the old Glassbone Open, for instance, pull some of that off. Yeah. But if you're going to challenge them throughout an entire week, yeah,
you might have to scale down some.
It doesn't even sound fun. It just sounds like too much chaos.
I mean, it sounds fun to everybody playing, not so much not running.
There's just so much going on.
I'd love it.
I'll be the first to say, and Dana, you've been part of this. There's a fine line, or maybe you can agree or disagree. I feel like there's a fine line when we get to the ginormous GBOs of old and we get to the present day Ledgestones. If you have 2,200 people, it's awesome they're all there, but they're not all there truly together. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
It's not felt, in my opinion. It is.
Well, that's why you need the outside or the after experiences, the giant fly marts, the huge games that you could have.
All of that stuff is so such a huge task to even try and possibly accommodate. Because when those guys get there right after their round and it's 6:05, 1,200 people already ate all the pizza before them. Anyway. This is a quick side note to all of this. I mean, this is Emporia, 6, 8, probably 9 hours-ish for you. Next year, they're already, I think, locked in that we're going to see Pro Masters Worlds up in Minnesota. That's exciting. Okay. I have to assume. Have you put any thought into next year, or is this year you got to get past it first?
We'll see how Ashley does.
This is news to me that it's in Minnesota, and that's exciting. You go up. I can remember going up to the Majestic and the Timmy Gill days, and Minnesota has that something. It's in the air. Like disc golf's so big up there, and there's so many players and courses, and I don't know, you get that feeling when you're there. And so I'd love to feel that feeling again and go up and play. Is that a Kale thing or
no? And I might be speaking completely out of pocket here. As I quickly did the research, I know they've put in, and I don't know if it's been awarded, because immediately I was thinking next year. It can't be next year, because next year I think it's already going to New Mexico. Does that sound right? I think New Mexico is where Pro Masters Worlds is next year. And then I get myself confused with where Selinsky rotates to. So let me rewind and get out the white out there and scratch over that. Next year it would not be next year, but I believe Minnesota has put in a solid bid and was hoping to be part of the 2026 Pro Masters Worlds, and that is yeah, I think that's all in the works as a potential. So I think I'm just getting out and ahead of myself. So maybe somebody else would.
You saying New Mexico, that rings a bell.
Now Mark Hill is backing me up. He's saying Tim Selinsky in New Mexico and Masters Worlds in Minnesota. Okay, so then maybe I was right. Okay, that sounds right.
All right. Cool.
Now that we've thoroughly
now that the whiteout is dried over, put it back on the way I had it. Yes, okay, yeah, Minnesota Worlds 2025. Right. That's that sounds pretty incredible to me, because we know how good Minnesota golf is.
Yeah, a lot of friends over there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's backtrack a little to you were just talking about the Worlds and your friends. What are some of the things that maybe people don't know, or if they haven't experienced a Worlds, especially from a competitive standpoint, what are some of the things that you most look forward to? You have your friends, but just what are the Worlds vibes for you, whether that's been on the AM or the pro side? What are some of the Worlds, what does that conjure up for you when you think about Worlds?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the AM side, and I think back to when I started playing disc golf in 2002, and then heard of the World Championships maybe in 04, 05, and was like, what? There's a World Championship? And so immediately it became a goal of mine to win the 2007 Amateur World Championship, which was ran by T-Doggy up in Milwaukee. So it brings back some memories. But I worked so hard and had a singular focus, and ultimately that year was on the lead card in the 5th or 6th round, pretty late, and then just had a god awful round. But anyways, I came into that Worlds with the winning mindset, and after that I played in a number of pro world championships, and I had the high hopes, but maybe not so much the winning mindset. Where this year, it was more about going and being there and making the cut, or trying to pop off and find myself up in the top 10. We're now this year, I feel like yes, there's tons of great players. However, I'm feeling very competitive right now. I feel like the course is set up well for me. So I think for people coming into a World Championship, and really any round of disc golf, it's all about perspective. And for me, I mentioned it earlier, the perspective of waking up and playing disc golf, and that's the focus for the day. That's a special thing. And many of us that are playing in Emporia next week, we're not on the road, we're not on tour. There's a handful of guys that are. So it's, remember that you're not at home, you're not at the office, you're not working. Well, I'll kind of be working, but anyways, keep having the perspective. So whether you're coming in to compete for the win, or you're coming for a vacation, you're coming to see one of the great disc golf towns in America and in the world, in Emporia, come and keep the perspective, and come into it with that intent, and set yourself up for success that way. So for me, I'm going to be, straddling the line of, happy to be here, but also eyes on the prize and trying to win a title.
What have you been practicing? Have you been putting in the effort?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot, but I have also been
I
It all
think about a
starts
lot
with
of
the
disc
mental
golf.
game. It
I
starts with
added
the
a lot of
mental-
disc golf. It's not made me any better, I promise. But go on.
yeah. No, I've been practicing, and I've got a nice excuse to join me right here to go to the course. She likes to run along and play with me at the course a couple minutes away. So
Nice.
I don't have, as I had anticipated, playing another event or two between the ones I played in March, April. But yeah, life got in the way. So, but I've got baskets in the yard. I've got trees to throw around and through, and up shots that I've been practicing.
Okay,
Long story
good.
short, and for me, if I put, I know I can throw the disc with the best of them, at least this next week. So if I can put the disc in the basket on the putting green is where, and I'm feeling good. I putted well at my early events and have been averaging 1,000 plus. So my game feels pretty good, and believe it or not, I'm throwing really far still. I work out and keep in shape, and so for me, it's about about putting and getting this stuff out of here. Anyways,
I mean, you come in with all that being said, exactly. You come in at a 10-12 rating right now, which I feel like has to be one of your higher ratings that we've seen from you. And then you're 8th. When I do a little sort via the PDGA, you come in as the 8th highest rated MP40 player. And obviously it's very competitive, and a few points, both in front and behind you are all, very close and very competitive people that you're very familiar with. But yeah, 8th overall in terms of your rating. Will you do any warm-ups with the putting competition, long drive, doubles, any of the reindeer games, as Kenny once referred to them as?
Yeah, no, I won't. I'm not getting in till probably late Saturday, maybe Sunday. So my practice time is pretty limited. So
Okay.
maybe if I was in Emporia already, or in there later this week, I'd get some practice rounds and then play with the reindeers.
Sure. When we were there just a month ago or so, and then we were there for the Dynamic Disc Open, you and I and a number of others were kind of treated to a little additional insight, and you even more so, being a House of Disc employee, but a little additional insight into the likes and the development of, we'll say, Champions Landing. And I know we're going to try and do some more in-depth research and sharing of that, as the week wears on. So look for some features we want to put together. But just give me your take on the whole idea of this destination that is Emporia, and what it kind of means for disc golf, even if it is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean, a lot of times when we're talking about playing on golf courses, we're going and renting and doing all these things. Not that won't happen, but this is owned by a disc golfer, a future probably a future Hall of Fame disc golfer, in Jeremy Rusco. And I can tell you, I was there in February, right around when he had made the purchase. And then I was there for the DDO, and then coming back, and I expect the same thing from what I saw in the winter to DDO, and just massive improvements already. And we're not even talking about moving earth and buildings and more recreational opportunities out there. It's a great place, and Emporia is so lucky to have Jeremy Rusco and disc golf, and it's going to be exciting to see how it develops. And yeah, if they can do half of the things that we saw in that presentation, like your jaw is going to drop when you come out there. It's the improvements are coming, and many improvements have already happened, and that goes for the course too. Even the adjustment to 18 with I really like how that turned out and how it looks, and whether it's just on the course or the food or coffee shop or pickleball, adding on to that, and the pool is up and running. I mean, I think Ashley was kind of mad when, she's like, why aren't we going? I'm like, what do you guys do? I'm like, oh, Champions Landing's got a pool. You could come and just hang at the pool all day. But it's just it's going to be an incredible asset for not only Emporia, but the communities around it, and as a place to come visit and golf, disc golf, or pickleball, or swim, drink, eat, all the above.
Yeah, and I'll just real quickly throw in there, because I'm seeing more and more of it, and I'm excited to get more details even next week. But just the idea that, they made a post today saying, hey, just so you know, like, you can come out here and walk the path around the course, and it's open. And they're really trying to get away from that, paid country club atmosphere that it used to be. Hence, it's no longer the Emporia Country Club. It's a resource and a recreational facility that is open to anyone, and there's all these other things and opportunities and options that are over there, and it doesn't require a membership to be part of it or partake. And I think that some of the stuff might have a daily fee to go be able to do it. I kind of look at it almost as like an open-ended YMCA, where it's like if you just want a day pass kind of thing, but you don't have to be a member necessarily to go partake. And some of it I'm sure is completely free, but just it's I think it's a matter of changing the tone and a little bit probably of the culture. I think that as a country club was there like over 100 years. So to see it, turn into more of a community resource, as you were just saying, and a community asset, I think is going to be really cool to see that unfold. So then I want the director of sales position over there, because no, I'm just kidding. It does seem like like you said, if they could do half of what we've seen in some of the presentations, I think it's going to be truly unrecognizable and unbelievable as they continue to build it out and be part of it.
Well, I know Dana had talked about Jeremy Rusko in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. He was just inducted to the Kansas Disc Golf Hall of Fame. So
very understandable.
Step one.
Yeah, that certainly is a good indicator right there, as he's done so much already for the state. Dana, what in terms of discs, you have all this background that we talked about in Discmania. Where do you, as an employee and or sponsored player, like I'd love to know where those lines are blurred and not. But
he can sponsor himself. It doesn't matter.
What types of things are you throwing, and is there any obligation or assumption about you and your role and as to what you might be throwing out there, or do I have to sneak up on you with a hidden camera and find something out?
Yeah, well, I'm not a Team Discmania sponsored player. I stepped down a few. I don't know. It's been 4 or 5 years now. Stepped down from that and felt it was time. Wasn't touring. Wanted to open up a spot for somebody else to enjoy the benefits and the perks.
You let Antala come in. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, I opened the
and Ella.
Little known fact, I opened the door. All that.
Like, you can have my spot, Antala. Do with it what you will, but you can have that.
There you go, kid. No, I, however, did continue to only throw Discmania.
Okay.
And at that, continued to mainly throw the new products that we produced in-house and, filtering out some of the old Innova molds. It's never left my bag, but my first prototype Cloudbreaker never left my bag, still in my bag. However, I'm not sponsored. I'm now working and selling all 5 brands within House of Disc. So the Dynamic Disc, the Attitude 64, and Westside Castoplast Discmania. So I'm opening up the bag a little bit, and I've actually made a few additions.
Give us the scoop. The Smashbox exclusive. Dana, what have you added?
Yeah, I've got so I've messed around with some Castoplast, which is really fun. I like a lot of the softer plastic, so that's kind of been jiving with me. But like for game time World Championships, the Berg is in my bag. And this isn't an ad, and don't try billing us for this, but like I was thinking about it. And I used to scoff at people that would throw the Berg because it requires very minimal touch. I see it as a cheater disc.
Okay.
But I honestly, is it one of the most interesting discs on the disc golf market, and one of maybe the biggest innovations in disc golf disc design. Like honestly, like the Berg, it's such a weird disc, but you pick it up, like from the moment I picked it up, and it was like, I can throw this and it's going to go right where I want it to. It doesn't go very far, but within 180 feet, like I feel really confident in throwing the Berg, whether that's sidearm or backhand. But anyways, so the Berg's in my bag. I've messed around with some other Castoplast stuff like the Cax. It's a Speed 6. I haven't thrown a Speed 6 since the Gazelle days or Cheetahs back in way back. But
late 90s or early
really
2000s.
Intriguing. I'm not bagging it. Probably the most thrown new disc in my bag is the Kristen Tatar Grace. I'm sorry, that dog is chewing that bone. She likes hanging out with me. But the Kristen Tatar, say it.
Tatar. Kristen Tatar.
Grace for my current arm speed, which as I mentioned earlier, I'm still throwing far, but throwing a cloud breaker far is a little difficult. But that Grace it's just the look, the feel. It's a Kristen disc. Like I'm a huge fan. With surprise. But yeah, I really like the disc, and it's in my home course over here. I birdied these 2 short par 4s, or eagled them, twoed them, and I've hardly ever twoed them, and I twoed them back to back the other day, and then I came back the next round and twoed one of them again with this Grace. So it's a pretty darn good disc, and then there's one last one that I've heard a lot of hype on from some friends. Josiah, who I work with at Discmania, he's actually a Latitude sponsored player and has been for years. But Josiah loves the Westside Warship.
Okay,
it's a mid-range.
It's a mid.
Disc.
Yep.
It's a mid. I picked one up, and the disc it goes. So it added a new layer to my mid-range game, and it's a slot, like that's a disc that we don't make at Discmania in the Warship, but it's got this combination of torque resistance and glide and it's an understable disc. I don't know, it's just for my throwing style, like it's kind of, man, if you saw, I won't say it, never mind, but it's a great disc. So yeah, I've got a couple new ones. I'm still throwing, all my favorite Discmania discs, but and just having picked up some of the new brands, I had to add them to the bag. They're making me a better player. And hey, Team Discmania, Avery Jenkins, Chris Brubeck, team managers. You guys are listening. I am a creator. If you don't want me talking about the Grace and the Berg,
retainer. Okay.
So call me.
Maybe you need to prove yourself next week. And
I think Avery's running a combine, so maybe you could
get in on the combine.
We could see if we can get you in on that. A couple of quick ones before we let you go here soon. One, working for House of Disc, as you just described, that you obviously are part of that. The world always wants to know, will there ever be a day where maybe a sponsored player is, we'll say, generically sponsored by House of Disc as opposed to exclusively with one manufacturer? You have Discraft, Niklas currently isn't throwing anything outside of Discmania. But do you ever foresee a day where maybe a House of Disc has a sponsored team, or do you see it continue to be kind of compartmentalized?
No, I see it there being brand separation.
Okay.
Each brand is, and they still are operating while it's all under one house. They're still have separate employees and brand directors and visions and fans and all of that. And to cross streams, I feel like that'd be a mistake in my opinion. Maybe it does happen, but if you think about in the business world of where there's other groups that own multiple brands, like I shouldn't say that because I was at the grocery store and saw some like chips that were crossing over, which was interesting to see. But typically you're not going to see, that's not something you see. And I don't necessarily agree with. I think if you're a Discmania player, you should be throwing Discmania. And then I wonder, just talking out loud, like, the whole trilogy, how that will work in the future. If that continues to be, all you're able to throw, if you're a West Side player, you're able to throw all three, or if it maybe you just throw West Side. So maybe even going in the opposite direction. But I think that it's important to know that, for the fans and everybody out there, is that it's not just, a free for all. And there are differences, and maybe they're not in vision at the moment, but you should notice that in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a question that, is often brought up, and I completely understand and agree with the idea, because if you start mixing way too much, it's going to be hard to decipher what's doing well and for what reasons, and is a certain player really worth an investment if they're not particularly pushing or promoting one specific brand. And then it's harder probably to sense your ROI in general if it's spread out over all these possible channels and opportunities and whatever. I mean, it all makes perfect sense to me, but I do feel like that's always lingering in a lot of people's minds as well. It's all the same, like you said, parent company.
I wonder if something like that would happen behind the scenes, but have maybe like a dual sponsored player. Like, I'm sponsored by Dynamic and Discmania, but not truly. But you would never tell someone you're sponsored by House of Discs, just because what are you promoting?
Yeah.
Like, what is the House of Discs brand? There isn't, like, you're not, you would think the manufacturers and not the brand. But I don't know. I could see a day where behind the scenes, like, oh, we're going to offer Dana X amount of money, and we're going to split it on our back end, and he's going to be a dual sponsored player between these two. I don't know if we'd see like a multi 3, 4, like, or just umbrella brand, because at that point, you're right, you're diluting the worthwhileness of somebody, maybe. Yeah. Unless the only person I could see something like that would be, you would have to be like the like a 3, 4, 5-time world champion that could pull that off. Like, take Gannon Burr in 8 years if he decides to rattle off 5 world championships. Something like that could happen, but I think you'd have to be at such a level in order for that to kind of really be worthwhile or make sense.
Yeah, and I like that model, not for House of Disc, but like what you see out of a lot of the players that are sponsored by, like, say, Infinite or something, or like what Drew Gibson does. I think that's really interesting when you find a manufacturer and say, hey, I'll promote this disc or make me this disc, and then that's how it works. I think that's a really interesting model. However, for what we're looking at House of Disc with the 5 brands, I don't see it happening, and would not advocate for it either.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Real quick, we're going to switch gears to a little bit more current, present-day stuff, or I should say much more recent in the last few days, and multiple-time world champs. We saw Paige with the performance this week, and we're going to talk to her here very shortly, and we'll recap everything that we saw at Portland. But what do you make of the injury, the return? You've been in disc golf long enough to truly see all of Paige's professional career as well. You've been around for quite some time, and I know you consider her a friend and such. What do you make of this return this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so thrilled to see her back in the winner's circle, because I don't know. I look back, I look at her career, and it's just been an insanely incredible career, and she's still so young with still so much left in the tank. But we've seen Paige kind of turn the page, and even before the injury, and change, and getting married and settling down and doing all these things, and we kind of saw a different Paige than we maybe saw earlier in her career. Naturally, we're all humans. We grow, we change, we evolve, and for Paige to find the recipe to win again, I've been really pulling for, especially coming out of the injury, and it, hearing people talk, and then seeing the emergence of Kristen and all these other great FPO players that are winning on any given weekend, no matter who's in the field. Like, there's so many good players, and it's so hard to win on tour, whether it's FPO or MPO side. And so where Paige used to be able to, just come in and rip it up and go on to the next one and have a bunch of adventures in between. Like, I'm so I'll say so a few more times, so happy for her, because it took a lot of hard work, a lot of drive, probably a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And to see her do it at an Elite Plus out in Portland, and that amazing community at that huge event is pretty cool. And man, I think it's a monkey off the back for her. Like, hey, I can, I'm past the injury. This is where I'm at in my career. I can still win. And so it's going to be, the FPO division has been so exciting for the last few years. And now with Paige back, having a win, having that notch on the post-injury belt, like, it's going to be I don't think we're going to go back to the days where we see Paige in first place every weekend, but I think we're going to see her making a lot more, above the cut line, in contention, on podiums, top fives, top tens, which are all, in this day and age, great achievements. But, Paige is one of the best of all time. And, she's not out there to just make cuts, but what she's done is she's gone out and she's, worked her way through the injury, and whether that's physical abilities or mental hurdles. And then for her to finally jump that last hurdle and seal the deal is awesome.
Yeah, and I would say this of any player, and therefore any subsequent hater to go along with it. I wish I had the power to pull every tweet and message and post that said, "Oh, she'll never win again." And we could say that the same of Paul. Clearly, that's been said about him as well. To pull all of those and be like, "Oh, wait, look how wrong you were, jackass!" Like, and that's not to be just a fan of Paige's. I think that's to be a fan of anyone that's that good or near that good, to just so quickly discredit and discount them. And you think of or Ricky Wysocki battles back from various bouts with his Lyme disease. Same thing. People easily counting him out. Oh, he's got Lyme. He'll never be 100% healthy. He'll never get in the winner's circle. He clearly came back last year and proved that to be wrong. And I think that when you are a competitor of the stature that a Paige, a Paul, a Ricky, an Eagle McMahon, I'm sure at some point, oh, he's had such and such kind of surgery and or stem cell, yeah, he screwed. Or, oh, now he until he eats meat again, or whatever everybody wants to just randomly throw out there. I think it does make for that much sweeter of a story when they come back and have proven all of those doubters and those haters wrong. And yeah, she's been with her hurdles, and none of us here, and she knows she's not going to rattle off the next 20 tournaments as wins, handedly. We're not claiming that either, but there's a lot of people that I think just completely dismiss some of our top tier players as if they could never find a way to win again. And like, they're not the greatest, by accident, or one of the greatest by accident. And I think she's proved that to me is what's so exciting for the sport. whether you're a fan of her or not. I don't think it should matter. It's exciting for the sport.
No doubt, and I'm excited to see how she's feeling and how she celebrated and all of it. Like having her on Smashbox celebrating a win, it feels right, and it's something that have missed. And
it has been too long, like almost a year probably since we've had her on for after a win.
Well, I mean, she, it was in Norway last, July or so, June or July when she injured herself. And, I guess we'll have to, again, there's that stat team that we don't have. But I'm sure we could get it figured out as to when
I'll go back and look at the show notes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we keep copious and detailed, thorough show notes. Well, and it's good. She did just message me, said she's ready anytime, and she's up and running and ready to go on her laptop so that we can cut to her here whenever we wrap up with you, Dana. So I will head into that realm and say, is there anything we need to discuss that we didn't touch on that you've got for us? I mean, big week with Worlds coming up and all the endeavors and whatnot. Anything else that the Smashies should all know about? On or off the course?
Man, I don't know. I did some research. Did you guys check the old Google Doc?
No. Let me go see what you entered in there.
I didn't put anything. I did put I looked at some results and everything, and you mentioned his name a little bit ago as Eagle. Where he's been and where he's going. It's we've seen lots of flashes of greatness. Good to see him back out and being competitive. Yeah, and then right next to him, also coming off an injury, Corey Ellis. He got his first major last year. He's proven to be an elite, one of the best in the game and a threat to win at any tournament he enters healthy. And the Robinson brothers. It's really been Ezra's year so far, but we saw Isaac with the insane Eagle. Can't get Jerem's voice out of my head now. Dang it.
So yeah, my nightmares too. Don't worry.
Yeah. That was a fun listen though.
Of course.
Overall on the weekend, but so those were a couple names and things I was thinking about, and I looked over to. In Europe, we saw Clay Edwards go get a big win. Silva won over there as well. A lot. I love, and I think a lot of Smashies out there can relate. But like once that we start getting those European Open or those European events where you can wake up in the morning and watch disc golf, disc golf's early morning. You can get up and watch, and then there might be another one later. That's when it's really exciting, and we're nearing that European stretch, which is fun to see the new names, fun to hear you guys butcher their names. You usually you do good. And then the women's side. I'd like to talk more, but I think I'll leave that with Paige maybe to muse on that if you guys get around to it. But there's so much to say about the FPO side, but I'm on the edge of my seat waiting to eat dinner, and B, I really want to hand this over to Paige, who this is her night and her spotlight, and don't need an old Smashy like me holding her up.
An old crusty one at that.
Well, you'll probably get a chance to see her. Maybe she swings through after Preserve or on Ledgestone. I know she tends to make visits.
Yeah. It's overdue. We're right off 80, so that's always fun too when the summer tour comes through the Midwest. Lots of visitors, and I hope Paige is one of those. And if not, I'll see her out there at some point sooner or later. Terry, Johnny, real pleasure. Got a dog biting me, but thank you guys, Smashies. I'm glad y'all got to see me, and maybe I'll see you in a couple weeks with a world title belt over my shoulder.
You know where you'll be for the exclusive world championship title interview right
Yep.
here. So we're here for it, and then some. There would be nothing more wild than having that talk with you in about
I'd
10
love that.
days after the final putt goes in at the World Championships. They're on 18 over at Champions Landing. Old Tear Bear will slide right in for that interview, and we'll hug it out big time, buddy.
It's been a while since I've shed a tear at a winner. I bet you there'd be a few there if you took that home, Dana.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Mustache for everybody. All right, Dana Vicich. Thank you, Dana. It's been awesome to catch up. Enjoy your travels, and in just a few days, I'll see you about 10 hours away down in Nigeria, and we'll make a stop in at Radius and see what they got cooking. We'll go from there.
I'm all about that Champions Landing food.
That's a good call. Yeah, we'll make multiple stops. We've got a few days there.
Terry doesn't miss a meal.
Never, clearly.
All right, boys. Thanks again.
All right, have a good night, buddy.
Dana.
See ya. Dana Vicich. So great to join us. Yeah, it is funny because I was thinking about when was the last time, and to think that it was all the way back in the wintertime does feel like time keeps flying. We just keep throwing those episodes all over the place. Well, I am sending an official note over to, I just sent Paige an email.
Perfect. So
when she'll have all the information for logging on here in just a few moments.
When she logs in, I'll line her all up. But real quick, let's just quickly go over some of the MPO results. Gannon Burr squishes the competition this weekend. He had a 10-stroke lead going into the final round, ends up winning by 8. That's a lead you haven't seen in years. I think I heard a stat that said the last time someone went into a third-round lead with 10 strokes was USDGC and Ken Climo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw something about
it was a third
Macbeth in 2017.
That might have been like a fourth round for something, but this was going into the third round. So anyway, Coleridge Allen takes second place, and Paige is here. I'm going to line her up in our little box so she's all set. We'll zoom her out so she doesn't look like a giant. There we go. We're good. Ricky Wysocki pulls in third place. Aaron Gossage and Isaac Robinson tied for fourth. Tied for fourth. Sixth place, Kelvin Heimberg. Seventh place, Paul Macbeth, whose name is still, he was kind of not doing so hot in the beginning of the season, and now you're seeing him kind of just hover around that top 10
Start to get it together.
Yep. Andrew Marweed, who didn't miss a putt this weekend inside the circle.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What's new?
Nicolas Antala tied for 8th with Andrew Marweed, and a 5-way tie for 10th, I think. Luke Taylor, Ulibarri, Callaway, who we've been mentioning a lot lately, Eagle McMahon getting his form back into him with those new discs and after the injury, Corey Ellis, Kyle Klein. That is a 6-way tie. Yes.
Yeah, crazy. All right, enough with the boring men.
Yeah, that was a blowout.
Yeah, we wanted more of the action, and picking up her first win in over a year, and maybe more importantly, the first win after what could have potentially been a career-ending injury. Joining us now on the show, one of our favorites, Paige Pierce. Hey,
Hello.
Paige.
Hey, Paige.
Why your hair looks so long, Terry?
It is, and it's so funny because I was thinking how it gets out of control, and then in the next 2 days, I'm gonna finally get a haircut. And,
Get it nice and tight.
Yeah, get it right, get it tight.
Get it right,
Okay,
I say buzz cut.
No,
Flat top.
nope. I don't think so.
Bowl cut.
Mullet. I've never really gone mullet. I couldn't
it's all
do
the
it.
rage these days.
Yeah, all the kids are doing it.
I do not have that kind of dedication. So kudos to those that can make it happen. So many congrats, of course, on the win and everything that goes along with that and what it means to you. And we'll get into that. Also, celebrating a birthday over the weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
How does it
week.
feel? How old are you now?
I'm 33. And Sean Jack, this was a really funny, it left me speechless. Sean Jack was walking past me, and he's turns around and shouts back towards me. He's like, "Happy birthday. How old are you now? Are you 30 yet?" And I was like, 33. He was like, "Wow, you made it to Jesus's age." And I was
It's random.
and we were walking past each other. So I'm happy about that because I didn't know what to say back. Was he surprised that I made it that long, or anyway, I don't know if he even thought twice about saying that. But for me, I've been thinking about it ever since then. It was just a funny thing.
Yeah, that's just a random person. But I suppose there's a few people like, I know Kurt Cobain, 27.
Okay.
Because there were a few people that lived to be 27. Stars, it was kind of a thing for a while. So maybe he just knew Jesus in 33.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. It's definitely awkward for the other
It
person.
gave me a lot to think about. It really did. So,
like, I got to reflect on how things are going in my life.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that for a moment. We don't have to get too deep on it, but just reflect on, being 33, being where you are in the world of disc golf at the age of 33. What does that say for you? What does that mean?
yeah, in the world of disc golf, I guess I would say, like, it's just like it's been the better part of my life. Like, since I was 19, I've been on tour. So, like, it feels like my whole career could be behind me, but I also feel young enough and, like, got this like new lease on life kind of with my new metal ankle, that like my career is still ahead of me too. So, like, I don't know it. And also I think seeing Own just crushing it I don't know how old exactly she is, but 41, 42, 43, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like almost about a decade ahead of me in life. Like, knowing that I still have 10 plus years at least ahead of me is like, yeah, it feels cool because I feel like a veteran, and I feel like I have all of those jitters and like those goals that a lot of players are still working towards behind me. But that the future is still bright, and I just got to keep up with Own.
Good luck with that. I don't know if anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe I'll say you could probably keep up with her on the course, but just her pure energy, I don't know if anyone can keep up with Own.
Probably not. Probably not.
But in general, so I've heard a lot of things, people and maybe yourself saying, look, Paige is back. She's back. Awesome. Do you feel back? Maybe it sounds silly after a win like this, but I know you've played not your best and won, and you've played awesome golf and lost. Do you feel like you're back?
Yeah, no, totally. That's a really good point. I didn't feel like it was my best this week. I felt like it was pretty close to my best off the tee, but on the putting green, it was not even close. Like, I would rank myself 50%. Actually, a couple of the putts that like went in, I didn't make, So, yeah, those aren't going to fly every time. Like, they could have, or honestly should have come out. And then I missed just quite a bit of putts as well. So, yeah, I think as far as like being back, I think that my drive and my timing and my footwork and all of that is back. And like my confidence in my weight transfer and all that, and being able to push off that back left ankle, that is back. But yeah, I think I still have work to do. I think like even Kristen, even AB, Gannon, like everyone still has work to do. So like being back, I think, I don't know, it's a weird question for sure, but I understand why you're asking it. Like, that's the whole storyline, is that I'm back. I think that, I have a lot more confidence in my body and the way that my body's progressing through this injury than I have up until this point. So I guess maybe yes, in short, to answer your question. But yeah, I think that in the Portland Open, excitingly, it wasn't my best, and so like that is cool. Like you said, Johnny D, like I've lost tournaments playing really well. So like to win a tournament, not feeling like I got everything that I could have is really exciting for me.
When we talk about one of the questions I was going to have is there a course where it's like, yes, this is where I should feel super comfortable, or maybe when I can excel at something, but well, I'll just ask that question. How did this play, these two courses, as opposed to OTB, as opposed to any of the other courses you've played this year since you've come back? Did any of this have anything to do with the course? Maybe is the real question.
I don't think so. I don't think it was the course. I think like I just feel like fully confident in my body and how my timing is now. I was really hesitant to put all of my body weight into the disc up until like 2 weeks ago. So, Ella just played super well at OTB, and so did Holland, and all of them, Cat Merch and Own as well. Like, and so to get fifth, I felt like, that was the first tournament back where I felt like disappointed with fifth place, where earlier in the season, 10th place at chess.com and 13th place, like I got a couple of decent finishes, but I wasn't content with those. Like fifth place at OTB, I was like, all right, like you're starting to get there, but you're getting blown out each round. Like, if you can shoot the hot round at least one time and like keep yourself in the mix, it's a decent tournament in my personal opinion.
Okay.
But if you're losing strokes to the leader each round, you didn't play well. That's how I think about it. So like Portland, going into Portland, the first round I think I was 4 off the lead or 3 off the lead, one of those two. And after that round, I was like, oh, cool. I in my mind, I left a lot out there, but to only be that far back, I was like, oh, sweet. Then the next round, to move up a little bit, I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, all right, but I still haven't shot the hot round at all this entire year. Not one time have I shot the hot round. And that was my goal. Like, shoot the hot round, move up, make the lead card, and, make a statement. And so I felt super, super like happy and excited that I did that round 3, and then, ended up winning it. But yeah.
What, after all of these years, you just said 19 years, it's so interesting to hear your perspective and the insight into how you could, I don't want to say break down a tournament, but how you would think about tournament and tournament rounds. Even just that insight of like, if I shoot one of the hot rounds, or if I don't shoot at least one of the hot rounds, I'm not playing good golf. I just find that so intriguing after all of these years that you can put that into a bottle and be like, yeah, this is part of my overall mixture game plan. It's just really interesting to hear it. Did you have a favorite of the two courses, East versus West? Would you have liked to play them in any different order or mix up how they played them? Does any of that matter to you?
I like, overall as a course, I like the East better, but there's a couple shots on the West that are super cool. So like, I don't know. I like them both. I like just being on that property. It honestly feels like a privilege, like walking up there. It's almost like tiptoeing, like, wow, they're really letting us play here. Like it feels like, what I would assume that Augusta National feels like for ball golfers. Like it just feels like pristine and well manicured and just taken care of. But one thing that I did wish, hindsight, like I'm happy I won the tournament, but if I could do it all over again, I would have switched up my practice rounds a little bit, because so I got there Monday and I went straight to the course, and I played East on Monday, East on Tuesday, and then I played West on Wednesday, and then the tournament started and we played West 2 rounds in a row. So like by the time Saturday rolled around and we were back to the East, it had been 4 days since I threw on that course.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa, it feels like a lifetime since I threw this hole. Like, what was I throwing again in practice? And so like, yeah, because that was unique, playing West twice, like no matter what course it was, like 2 in a row and then 2 in a row. It was
A,
unique.
B, B, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. Usually we go A, B, A, B. So anyway, and I didn't think about that until Saturday. And I was like, whoa, I don't even remember what I threw on this in practice, but like this is the course I practice more. Like I got 2 practice rounds in on this course. And anyway, so yes, that was an interesting thing. And, you know, moving forward to any other tournament that has that, it's crazy because I've been on tour since I was 19 and like I'm still learning things. So like moving forward, any tournament that has that AABB, make sure that I practice A last. So, or, you know, so that I'm fresh on it when I'm going. But yeah.
Here's a spoiler. My guess is that you threw the drive.
Oh,
I did.
Yeah, like I know you threw that a lot. You threw it a lot. Yeah. So odds are, if you walked up to a hole, it was probably the drive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll quickly say tangent since he just asked that. When you're give the plug, but also give a comparison. If you're explaining that disc, give a comparison to, you know, because there's a lot of people that want to speculate as to what it was made of or how it came about and everything else. But give us your full process of how that disc came about and maybe what somebody else would compare it to within the Discraft lineup.
Yeah. Comparison, I've heard like an Innova comparison. I've heard a Wraith. I actually, when I was mixed bag way back when, I never threw a Wraith. I threw like a T-Rex X. So
of course you did.
That shows my
T-Rex
age.
X. Who throws?
You remember those?
Yeah. I remember them. No one
yeah.
threw them. Nobody else remembers them because nobody threw them.
I
had to throw a DX T-Rex at 150 class in Japan, and that was the last time I touched a T-Rex. So that was 2010.
I mean, they were sick. I love them. But yeah, as far as Discraft comparison, I think it's probably similar, like in between a Surge SS and a Zeus. Zeus was my main driver before pre-injury. And but even before I was injured, I would have to like hit it hard on an Annie to get the full S flight out of it. It was like money for headwind and just like hyzer shots. But when I wanted to get distance, I would have to hit it hard on an Annie and like really work it over. And so I wanted to like make a disc that I could hit on a hyzer and it would pop up to flat and just crest forward. And it could be like a push hyzer type of shot. And I didn't have to try as hard to get that full flight. And so we actually, at first we retooled the Surge. So they sent me 2 different test products, and like one was a retooled Surge and the other one was what is now the Drive. And I like Bob actually like preferred the retooled Surge, but for me it was a tiny bit squirrely, like, you know, 2 out of 10 times it would hyzer hard, the other 2 times it would like flip over, and then like the other 6 times it would just be what I wanted. But I didn't want that, and so the other one, like every time I threw it, it did the same thing, and it was just like exactly what I was looking for. So we actually only used, so technically we ran 2 different discs, but we didn't even like tweak it after that initial time. I was in love right away. And what was the second part of your question? What would it compare to, and what else?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking within the Discraft lineup, and then how did it come about? You know, because I also heard people saying, well, it's just this disc combined with that, or it's a retooled blah blah blah, and that I just wanted to hear it directly from you as to like how the process and maybe some of the tooling, you know, where it came from. And then if you said, well, it's kind of like a beat up Surge or an overstable blank, you know, that's, you know, what I was looking for.
So I think I answered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the 2 courses, I'm trying to remember where my train of thought was before all of the disc talk, but the 2 courses, your stamina. You said it. You showed up, you played practice rounds, then you played 4 rounds on what are far from short courses by any means. Where do you feel like your physical stamina is when it comes to whether it's your ankle or your leg or your foot or anything of that nature, but just overall, how is your stamina, and was it a factor at all this weekend?
Yeah, I definitely feel like my stamina is at an all-time high.
Okay.
And I actually know that because like I've been keeping track on the health. Like I'm an iPhoner, and like the health app, you can track your steps, and it's like you're more than double your steps from last year, and that's not really surprising because for half the year I had my ankle elevated right here, but yeah, I'm moving a lot. Like once I could walk again, like. All right. For a week and a half, I was like, okay, I'm going to really backtrack. After the surgery, anesthesia's wearing off. I'm puking every 10 minutes. I had like a bowl right here and I was just like, I couldn't keep anything down. The anesthesia, like that was the first time I've ever had anesthesia in my life. So, and my body just didn't react well to it. So like within 48 hours, I probably puked like 12 times. And anyway, so the first couple days, I'm like in severe pain and just nausea and all that. Then I'm not in pain anymore, but I'm like just resting and elevating and like honestly somewhat enjoying rest. You know, like, wow, when's the last time I literally sat on a couch with nothing, no phone calls, no like practice rounds, no anything. And so like for a week then after that, I was like, wow, this is nice. Like, holy cow, this is amazing. Like, and then like a week and a half after that, you know, it's like, how many more shows can I actually watch? And like, my butt is like sore from being on this couch. And then fast forward, you know, when I could start walking again, I was picking weeds on my knee scooter. Like I was out in the backyard picking weeds, like trying to do things even though I wasn't supposed to be walking yet. Like I'm trying to clean the litter box and like Ayla was doing everything for both of us. And like, I was like, oh, I got the litter box. I'll take the trash out. You know, it's like, and so once I could start walking again, I just was the most active I've ever been because I just like was over sitting there and just like, what, you know, what's going on out in the world? Like what, you know, just like couldn't wait to like feel the breeze again and be outside and like, I don't know. Anyway, I gained like probably 15 or 20 pounds when I was stagnant on the couch. And I could feel that when I started walking again. And I was like, whoa, like my body feels heavy. Like each step that I'm taking like feels heavy. And, you know, just being active. I've never really been the type to like go to the gym and work out or anything like that, but just like continuously working to get my mobility back was working out for me. And I lost that weight back. And yeah, I just like was super, super active and still am. Like I just got home and I was like, oh, it's going to be so nice to rest. And I mowed the front yard and the backyard and weed whacked and hedge trimmed. And yeah, then started practice putting because now the backyard was mowed and the baskets looked nice and there was no like anything. So anyway, my stamina is definitely higher than it's ever been. And I feel like that was probably a part in it because that course is pretty up and down and going up those par fives uphill and stuff. Like I really do think it played at least a small part in the victory.
Yeah, and I think you combine, like you said, your natural instinct of being active, along with just a slightly different outlook on life and a new appreciation in terms of that mobility and in terms of feeling good, in terms of trusting your your plant foot and all of those things. I think all of those combined, I could see how that could propel you forward. Maybe it's a side note, maybe it's not, but for so many years we saw dominance. Prior to you, we saw the likes of Elaine King and we saw Juliana, and then we saw Val and Des and Val. As you then, kind of became part of that next evolution, and it felt like, and this is partly to blame on you, there were these pockets of just sheer dominance. I mean, where it felt like it was just almost a foregone conclusion. You were going to take down a victory for a very long period of time. No slight to you, but it doesn't feel like that at all anymore, does it? Like the parity within the women's division, how many different winners we've seen in the last 24 months on the tour has been insane. And I'd love your input as a competitor and even as a fan.
Yeah. Well, I think that for one, people are just like actually with the sport growing and the tournament purses growing, people are more able to make a living off of it. So you have more people on the road, you have more people on tour competing week in and week out. And before there was like 4 of us, me, Kat, Val, Hokum, that was it.
Yeah.
And the rest would be, locals that would play. And yeah, maybe they would come up and get 5th or maybe even 4th or 3rd, but they weren't working every single day like we were. And now we have how many FPO tour card holders? I don't even know, 40 plus probably. And so we have 40 plus women that are full-time. This is what they do day in and day out. And so you're going to see that parity there. But also, I really do think that a huge aspect of this is the media. So, like, I think back to when Ricky and Macbeth were the top 2, and any given weekend, it was going to be one of them. No question of anyone else. It was Ricky or Paul. Ricky or Paul. I don't remember what year that was. I'm sure you're better at, like,
2014 comes to mind. 15. Obviously, that's when their playoff was, but that felt like obviously around the height of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the entire MPO division was, oh, Macbeth's not here. I got a chance to win. Oh, oh yeah, hopefully I can get second. Like blah blah blah. Macbeth. Yeah, and it's like, okay, guys. You've got to believe that you can win. Stop talking about Paul. Talk about yourself. And how are you going to attack the course? Stop worrying about him, where he is, how he's practicing, what he's throwing. Stop talking about it. And I think that right now, and like within the last, 12 months, 24 months, the media has been talking about the parity in the women's field, and it gives all these women that are watching and listening hope, and it's like, oh yeah, there is a bunch of parity any given weekend. It could be my weekend. And, that wasn't the case maybe 2 seasons ago when, which year was Kristen's Grand Slam 2022? Is that right?
That was just last year.
Oh, that was last year. Okay.
Yeah. That was just last year.
Wow, time is crazy. Time is so crazy.
We got a decade on you. Yes, it gets that way. Yeah.
And to be fair, you were also injured and in alternative state of mind for a few of those weeks. But yeah, that was just last year. Yeah,
but so my point is like there was a time where it was like, oh, Kristen's gonna win. Kristen's Kristen, and it still kind of is. But there's also this other story of like the parity in the women's field. Oh, 6 different winners, 6 different tournaments. And so whether you're trying to or not, you hear those things and you take that in. You at least, like, whether you're trying to shut that noise out or not, you kind of hear it a little bit. So like when it's being talked about, Kristen's winning, people start like, oh, I hope I can get second behind Kristen. I hope I can, and when you say this parity stuff, it gives people hope in that like open channel. So like, I really do think a big part of it too is the growing media in disc golf and that storyline being, so present.
Which is interesting because in some ways I think That's the media's job, is to postulate, to review, to predict, to analyze, to do all of these different things, like depending on who you are and where you are within our sport. Mo, who's our producer, who often is in our ear during a live broadcast, he has certain narratives and storylines that he's thinking. He takes feedback from whether it's myself or an Ian Anderson or a Germ or a Zoe. He takes feedback from them to some degree as well. And then you have entirely separate people from a live broadcast where you've got other podcasts and people writing, post-production. There are so many different eyes and ears that are now all part of this media narrative. And like you said, it's a fine line of, what do you listen to and actually concern yourself with versus just being out on the course and shutting off all that noise, which is very difficult because we're also still a very tight-knit disc golf community. Like, you've seen our media careers from the day they started in disc golf, even if it has been 15 years, and we've seen every one of your big plays. Like, so it's interesting that way. And I don't know if I have another point to that, just other than it's watching all of this unfold and then seeing on any given weekend a new storyline arise. And Holland, when is she going to get her first big win, or Ella's first big win? And then Missy Gannon, comes out and shows up at certain events, more frequently than maybe at other events. I don't know. It's been wild. Let's just say, clearly the job has gotten more diverse and more difficult in the last few years. Because, like I said, 10 years ago, it was pretty easy to predict one of 2 or 3 women, and it just always was one of you guys that was doing it. And now, I don't think you can count anyone in or out. Right? Like, how many people had you picked to win this weekend? And that's not a slight on you, but there's a lot of people that were second guessing if you'd ever win again. And here you are, 4 rounds in a very decisive manner, taking it down. It's, I don't know. It's wild. Speaking of all this, and this wasn't a long-winded way to get around to one of our additional stars that we saw this weekend in Sophia. What was your interaction, or did you, because she hasn't been around that long, and then here you are, one of the greatest to ever play the game, and now you guys are going to battle here for someone who's only been playing for a couple of years. Any takeaways there?
Yeah, pretty crazy. I've been playing with a lot of new players since my injury. I've been kind of low down on the ranks. And so I've been playing with a lot of new players, and US women's, for example, there was 100+ women. And after round 1, I found myself in 80 somethingth place. And I'm down there, in the bottom 4/5 of the field. And I'm playing with some killers. These girls are throwing 6 shots, making big putts. And I'm like, who are you? I've never heard your name before. And, so it happens. And so to see these players put together these good rounds, if you're playing in a pro tournament, how to throw shots. I think once you start having good finishes, it's okay, now not only are you throwing good shots, but you're making good decisions and you are confident. And I think Sophia, she makes a lot of good decisions. I play with her at OTB Open as well on the chase card. And I was really impressed by her disc selection. As card mates, we kind of discuss what discs you threw and stuff. And she was very often throwing the same speed disc as us. And I think for a newer player, a lot of times you're either clubbing up or clubbing down at the wrong moments. And you kind of know what's going to happen when you see the disc in their hand. Oh, okay, they're going to come up a little short on that, or oh, they're going to way out blow this one and flip it, or, just based on the disc. And she really had the veteran disc selection. So I thought that was the first thing that stuck out to me, and also just like her distance. What at OTB it wasn't as fine tuned. I thought 80% of the time it was amazing, but the other 20% she kind of sprayed them. And then Portland, literally one tournament later, she really reeled it in. And that could, I don't know why that is. Like, it's all speculation. Like, I'm not gonna, who knows what changed. But she really reeled it in, and like, it was very rare. I played with her 2 of the 3 rounds. Yeah. 2 of the 4 rounds at Portland. And I don't really recall a moment where she just like shanked a shot. So I think, having like premier distance and being pretty accurate on the putting green, and, reeling it in on her accuracies, she, it's like, she's an amazing player. And being like second year playing on tour, or I don't know, she's had 2 years. I didn't really get, it's hard to ask so many questions when you're trying to focus on your own game and you're playing together. But
I'm trying to play golf, but I have some interest.
Yeah, I'm like, I am curious, like, who are you? What's going on? Like, yeah, so she said 2 years, and like, I don't know if that means like that she's been playing or what, but yeah, she's a killer. She's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah, I think I heard she started in 2021, COVID player, but she's only been playing She's only been playing tournaments for like 2 years, but I mean, it means she only really took a year until she started a tournament, which is kind of crazy. And
now she is finishing third,
and her putting was phenomenal. I loved it. It's just very, very much a straight shooter when it comes to her putting.
Yeah.
It was very.
She
fun
made a couple big ones too. That just like sometimes like when Owen's putting, you just like kind of know, like, all right, let's, but like Sophia, I remember like, I think it was hole 6 on the East course, like round 3, or maybe it was round 4, but it was definitely hole 6 on the East. And like, I wasn't even necessarily watching because she was like 65 feet away. And it's like, not that I doubted her, but I just was like, didn't think it was like worth watching, I don't know, or something. But I hear chains, I look up, it's dead center in the basket. I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. She's just making huge putts. She's out like multiple times. She was the farthest shot up the fairway. Literally the hole after that, hole 7. She was, I don't know how well you guys know the course or not, but hole 7, she got her drive so far up there that she could see the basket.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, I never seen anyone up there. Not Ella, not anyone up there. And she was just looking at the basket 150 feet away. It was crazy. So anyway, great player. Yeah, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see, obviously she's very good and picks up things very quickly. She's got a PhD in chemistry. She's a very driven, motivated person that does a lot. And the one thing she did, just only because I was there and I know this, and I just released it today, the one thing she did between OTB and Portland, she played the Cascade Challenge out there in Shelton Springs, and then I just released the footage of her being on round 1, which is a completely wooded, tight, narrow gap, a completely different look than both OTB and Portland. Really almost nothing like those two courses. Is the one event she played in between those two when you saw her.
And how'd she play there?
She struggled a little first round, and then really didn't get much going. I don't want to spoil it all, but she didn't get a lot going. We didn't see her in rounds 2 and 3 actually on the coverage. So, she got off to a little bit of a slower start. She still finished in the cash. She's cashed in every event she's played this year, and I guess and I know we're honing in on her, but just in general, the idea that we're seeing women like her get introduced to the game, and then almost instantly can become a force to reckon with. And that's what we saw from Holland. That's exactly what we saw from Ella. And now, she's, I think, on that list as well, as someone who's come in and very quickly is right there as a contender. That overall parity, I think, is incredible. So
Yeah, she's a smart woman, and like
Yeah.
she understands the way the disc flies. She understands the importance of decision making, and she's an athlete. So like, I think about I feel so bad. I can't remember her last name, but Disc Tay on Instagram.
Taylor. Yep.
Taylor something or another.
Yeah,
I met her this weekend.
Yeah.
And talked to her for like 20 or 30 minutes about like, just all, and she's about to try out for the septathlon and the Olympics, and like, it's not really surprising that she can throw so far because she is an athlete and she knows how to move her body. But yeah, it's like, it's the pressure situations, it's the decision making, it's the like the, I don't know how to like put it into one word, but just like the the perseverance, like continuing to try and like, these players are going to have good tournaments, but are they going to stay committed to disc golf? Are they going to stay on the road? Are they going to have a long career that we're talking about this same player 3 years from now? Or is she going to do something with her chem degree? Is Disc Tay going to go to the Olympics for the septathlon? Like, and screw disc golf, like,
Sure.
So I think I actually was on a flight recently where there was an entire collegiate women's softball team. And I started talking to them about disc golf and softball. And they told me that softball in the women's division, softball doesn't have a professional thing. Like the highest you can go is collegiate. And so I was like, you guys got to try disc golf. Like, you're all good at throwing stuff and you're athletes. Like, and so I think, like, I hope that we continue to get more and more athletes, and that's what's going to push the sport forward. And especially the women's side of the sport. Like, we have all these like young kids, Cole Redallen and Ty Love and Gannon, like, coming up and pushing the field in the MPO. And I think like if we can get some volleyball and some softball women, I think that would be just amazing for the growth of the women's game.
Yeah. It certainly would, and I think that we're gonna see that more and more, as like you said, as these women finish their collegiate careers and maybe want to continue to be athletic and do things, because there aren't a lot of professional women's leagues,
outlets, and
outlets like that. I mean, there's obviously a few. I want to go back a little bit to your injury and some of the things that maybe I saw at Portland here. You were practicing when you were injured. We saw a lot of you practicing your forehand, and granted, I didn't see all the shots, but I didn't feel like I saw it a lot at Portland. Do you feel comfortable with it? Because there are a few times I watched you look at the line and decide not to take it. Was that just better shot shaping, or you would throw a big backhand Anheuser, something you're more comfortable with? Are you getting more confident in your forehand?
Yeah. So when I first was able to start walking again, or like throwing again, I guess. Well, I guess it would be like walking, because my doctor still said, okay, you're good to walk, but you can't twist, jump, or run. And so twisting is a huge part of disc golf. So I was like, okay, but I still kind of gave myself the green light to putt and to throw standstill sidearms. And so that part of my game really excelled, like not jump putts, but just like inside the circle putting and sidearms. And like, I've always felt decently confident on sidearms, but I was kind of like a one angle sidearm thrower, just like on a hyzer, and however far it got is how far it got. Like, but when I would start to try to put angles on it, it would be a little bit more erratic. So yeah, I started getting really good with different angles on sidearm because that was all I was able to do. And so I would go out to the courses that I would usually play and not be able to throw the backhand, and just like, okay, well, what's the sidearm line and sidearm only rounds, And so I really got good at angle control on sidearms. I still didn't really get too much more distance, if any, on my sidearm, but I feel comfortable hitting it on hyzer, flat, anhyzer, whatever. And so I'm not getting like 380 like Colin or anything, but if I need to throw it, I can. A lot of times this weekend when it was like that option of throwing sidearm or backhand, I deferred to backhand just because that's my default. That's my comfort. And backhand anhyzer is my favorite shot of all to throw. Yep. I just love anhyzers. It's just like so beautiful. But yeah, so if I can throw an anhyzer, I'm going to. I thought about switching my game plan on round 4 on hole 6's tee to sidearm. But I felt like, okay, you messed it up yesterday, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong shot. Just stick to your game plan, just throw the shot. And I got the birdie round 4, so I was happy with that. But a hole 2 on the West course, I threw sidearm both days, and a couple times on up shots, I threw sidearm. So yeah, I throw it when I need to, when I feel like it's the shot. But if I have a backhand anhyzer that I think is going to get me within 25 feet, I'm going to take that instead of throwing the sidearm where maybe I'll get to 5 feet instead of 25, but my percentage is a little bit lower on that. My default is always backhand turnover if possible. But yeah, if there's a low ceiling, sidearm's obviously the play. So, but my next tournament's preserve. I don't know that I throw any at preserve either, really. Maybe like a couple, but later in the year, I definitely throw some sidearms. It's
Maple
just
Hill,
I played
GMC.
these. I've played these courses so many times, and I've seen the backhand work so often. It's like I don't need it. Isaac Robinson, world champion. James Conrad, world champion. No sidearm.
Overrated.
That's totally over.
Yeah,
Ken Climo, 12 world championships, has thrown about 12 sidearms at all of them combined. So,
and it causes a lot of injuries.
Barry Schultz, not a forehand thrower either. He's got a few world.
And
titles.
to be fair, I've watched with pleasure you throw some of those beautiful backhand turnovers. Like it's one of my favorite shots to watch you or anybody throw is just a big sky anhyzer. Just watching that disc turn and just fade out and flatten out is, with the accuracy that we have, is great. I mean, we do have so many players these days that can just look at that shot and be like, I can just chuck a forehand up there and I'll get within 25 feet. But
kids these days,
I know. I'm not to say that takes less skill than a beautiful turnover, but it's not as pretty. No. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you happen to segue into a thought I had, which is looking ahead at your schedule. First of all, this is kind of random, but I see that, which isn't quite schedule related, but your career earnings, which is a number you probably never think about. I can't imagine that you do.
Nope.
Your career earnings right now per PDGA, though, this is interesting. $399,690.64. So you're effectively $310 away from 400,000.
That's cool.
That sounds cool.
Nice number.
A lot of numbers you said. I don't know really.
The long and short of it is you're creeping on 400,000 career earnings, and I'm not Statmando, but that's got to place you in the top 10.
Yeah, I would say 10
people all time. That might even be too low of a number for you.
For sure, 10. I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if it's even that, how much higher it is. Anyway, whatever. You're going to get to 400,000 in the next event. Now, speaking of the next event, you just said it. The Preserve. That's in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, whatever. When you walk off the course at Portland, you have these feels, this excitement, this jubilation, this maybe relief, all of the things that are the feels. Do you walk away later after you collected your thoughts and think, man, I kind of wish I was playing somewhere next weekend. Like I'm ready to go. Like this feels good. This feels right. Or are you like, okay, that's over. Let's reset and do it all again in 3 weeks. Like how do you feel about that after a win?
Yeah, I think after a win, it's nice to like actually after each of my Worlds wins, I canceled the next tournament because it's like, I just want worlds. Like,
Yeah,
why would I
I'm
go
out.
play this B tier or this A tier? Like, I just want worlds. Are you kidding me? Like, and that's kind of how I feel right now. Like, I didn't know I was going to win, obviously. So like, I didn't make this schedule according to that. Like, but after winning, no, it's not like I feel like, oh man, should I go play Beaver? Should I like change my flight and play Beaver?
No.
It's not like that for me.
Really though? Because that, like, at that course, and I sorry to interrupt you, but like that course, the vibes, Milo, like everything that is Beaver State Fling, like if there's one that could maybe change your mind, I could see how you could be like, yeah, I could flip that switch. If they'll let me in, I'll go play that.
It's funny because
Anyway, go on.
I think Preserve takes over like that those feels these days.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Johnny, but I do love Beaver.
It's
Terry's
great.
got a point. I've been playing there for so long. That was actually the first national tour that I played, and I got second to Liz Carr. I lost by 1 stroke.
Yeah.
And that was like the moment for me that I was like, wow, I can really like do this. I can make this a job. Like, so yeah, I have a lot of good feelings there. The course is amazing. It's gorgeous, everything. But for me, I've been away from home for 3 weeks, you know, with flying to the West Coast, playing OTB and then Portland. So it was time for me to get home. That's how I kind of made my schedule this year, is like, couple weeks on, couple weeks off, couple weeks on, couple weeks off, and like trying to rejuvenate my body and my mind and like go to each tournament fresh and excited, instead of like, oh, another tournament. Oh man, I'm tired. I don't want to practice today. Oh, but I need to practice. Oh, you know, and having all those push and pull of all that. So like now when I'm looking forward to Preserve, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, you know, and all these, that jubilation and all that is targeted towards Preserve. Especially, I do love that one. And Johnny, you're totally right. Like, that is a course and a tournament that is just like a new one. Like, I know it's been on tour for a couple years, but like newer, that has taken like a big stand in the tour. And it's like, this is a course that, you know, you can put hot rounds together, and also, you know, the crowd is awesome. The time of year that we play there, the weather's always great and everything. So, I think, what was the other part of your question?
Just like, do you, when you know, there, that maybe that mixed emotion of, I just won, you know, is it going to feel good to relax, or I just won, man, where's the next tournament? Like, I'm ready to play, like things are clicking, I'm ready to go again. And you've answered that. You kind of you know, there's no variance at this point in your schedule, and that you've made these plans. And so your plan was to go home, and you know, there's a sense of relief in that as well.
Yeah. And I do kind of have that bit of me, like in my personality, is like, okay, now what's next? Like, what do we do? You know, but I don't think that has to be to a tournament, you know?
Okay.
I think that is, or could shorten my career if I'm physically wearing myself down, you know, and mentally I'm just like worn out and like over it. Like a lot of players are already, and it's June. Like for me, I've only played like 8 to 10 tournaments, and I'm like, you know, itching, you know, for the next one. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to sign up for all of them. My instinct is to make my career longer, you know, and not by tournaments per year, but by years on tour, you know, and like keep that excitement and keep that like youthfulness about my body and stuff, and like not feel like, oh man, all my muscles are sore when I get to this tournament. So I've just kind of been channeling that part of my personality of like, what's next, to like what I'm working on when I'm home. I played a round of disc golf today, you know, like just because it's an off week of no tournament doesn't mean I'm not practicing or like working towards bettering myself in disc golf and in any way. But yeah, like just trying to continue to be active. I think that every single day still, like I'm trying to get more stability, more flexion in my ankle. Like my right ankle, can you see my hands? Yeah.
Yep.
My right ankle can go like all the way up, but my left ankle is like about here. So like still trying to, be active as I can to like get that flexion there and like the stability and the balance and stuff. It doesn't hinder or help with every single shot, but sometimes if I'm on a side hill or if I'm doing a patent pending or if I'm on a straddle and all my weight's on my left side, certain times it really does affect my shot, or it can either hinder it or it can help it if I'm stronger. So like trying to work on those things, and like all my stations in my backyard, my putting stations, I have a lot of like straddle putts that I have to go out to the left, and like just trying to get reps in for that. So I'm steadily like getting more and more flexion in my foot. So, I do. And you know that about me, both of you guys. I know like I just have a hard time like just chilling, but that doesn't mean that I have to use that like angst to play more tournaments. I can use it in another way.
Well, to be fair, you want to make your career longer so you can be playing with Owen when she's 53.
Exactly.
I mean, because you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be tough to keep up as she's still playing in the open field.
The
at
problem
50.
is
Definitely.
Owen is playing as much golf or more than anyone.
I know, because she's going to Masters Worlds.
Like a
she's
freak
doing
of nature.
She
But
is,
she's also
but- yeah.
during Portland, she was talking to me about how much pain she was in. Actually, that she was having a hard time, and I was like, "Damn, she's going to compete for like a world title next week." And she's getting on a red eye, getting there, having one day to practice 2 courses,
Oh, 'cause
and
she's playing Beaver State. Oh, my
yeah,
God.
she's playing Beaver State and then getting on a red eye that same night, Sunday night. And she said she'll have one day to practice 2 courses. And she was already telling me how much pain she's in, and like she's having a hard time throwing backhands. So yeah, I don't want that for myself. Like, I just, especially coming back from an injury and seeing like what could happen, like, and all these people around me are like Corey Ellis, Stacey Ronsley, like Alexis Bondohano, all these players are like having to take months off because of some like, or even Kristen, like, and that's not a disc golf related thing, but like her impingement that she had, that was disc golf related. And like, so trying to listen to my body and take breaks, and instead of throwing, like, I'm still practicing. I played a course today, but par 56, I'm working on my up shots, I'm working on my putting, I'm working on my sidearms. I'm not ripping these shots all day long and then trying to do it again the next day. So
you are going overseas. You're going to Crokel. I believe you're playing you are playing the European Open. I'm sure you've thought about it. Are you going to walk over that bridge? And how are you, and how are you going to feel when you walk up to that bridge? Is there going to be a little bit of?
She shouldn't be at that event.
I will be there.
You're going to be in Crokel.
No, Crokel isn't where she got hurt, but
Yeah.
You're going to be at
But
Sula, right?
I'm going
you're
there,
going to burn
though.
that damn bridge down, aren't you?
No. I want to make peace with the bridge. Quite opposite.
Okay.
But I probably won't walk over it. But I was planning on just like sitting on it.
Okay.
And like maybe having like a little cup of coffee or something, and
having a little word with it.
Yeah, maybe bring some
peace
sandpaper.
with it, just like, hey, Mr. Bridge, you really
Woody.
tried to screw me up here, but I forgive you. I don't know, but that's where my wife Ayla comes in handy. Is like she's very spiritual, and like she'll kind of give me some things to think about and work through. But yeah, I definitely want to just like make peace with it, and like I don't blame anyone or anything, but it just like it was just life-changing in an instant, like instantly. Like I was thinking about my game plan and it's like it was a par 4, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna lay up to here, and and then boom, and it's like, whoa, am I gonna play Worlds? Am I gonna play disc golf again? Like I was literally like thinking about how I'm gonna play this PCS Open or whatever it was called, Sula, and then everything changed in a second. So I at least want to sit there. I definitely want to play that course. Like the first 7 holes were sick.
Yeah.
So I want to finish the course. I really miss those people. Like I made a lot of good connections with that community, and like they all were so welcoming and thoughtful and caring. And even in the process of like getting me to the hospital and all that, they were so sweet. And I definitely want to just go say hi to them and stuff. So before Crocal, I'm going there like a week and a half early, and I'm going to go to Vesnus and
and
I hope if they ever take that bridge down, they just disassemble it, ship it back to you, so you can put it in your garden or something. Just reassemble it. Just have it sit in the backyard somewhere, not where you're ever going to walk on it, but it's a nice little planter. Turn it upside down, make it a planter.
Yeah, planter. That would be nice. Yeah.
I bring it up, and I look at that because although we're going to be in Norway this year for the event for Crocal, that is a full like 6.5 hour drive from where Vesnus is. So the idea that you're going to go up there and like you said, make peace or have your moment, which I can completely understand. And I know it's you can't go wrong in Norway, like in terms of the views and the sights. You can go just about anywhere, and I know you're going to be able to take in some of the natural beauty, and then to be up in that area makes perfect sense. What I have so many thoughts, but one of them that jumps ahead then is seeing you for Crocal, seeing you the next weekend European Open, but not the following weekend for the Estonian Disc Golf Festival. And then I know the week after that, so to speak, is Ledgestone, but I'm kind of surprised to not see you currently signed up for the Estonian event.
I know that was a hard choice for me because I still haven't even been to Estonia, and Estonia has a big tournament next year. Right?
Next year, they're going to be an event. It'll be a major, and we're going to have the Worlds in Finland, but then Estonia will also still have a major.
That's right. Yeah. So for me, that was a really hard choice. And like, I thought about going just because it was going to be a big tournament the following year. But for like, since Ayla's coming with me, we have to get a dog sitter, and we're already going to have been gone for 3 weeks. Okay. So like financially, and also just like leaving our babies like for that long is really tough. So I told myself, like, Kristen's already going to have the advantage. Home country, like the energy. What? I'm saying, like, I'm talking about for the major in 2025. Like, she's going to have the advantage. She's probably played that place a million times. The energy, the crowd, like everything's going to be working in her favor. So me going and playing 3 to 5 rounds at this course isn't really going to be that big of a benefit or detriment, like either way. Okay. So I just thought, with how much more Airbnbs, another flight, another week of dog sitter fees, like it just financially wasn't like the best situation for me. And, I'm still paying off medical bills from my surgery. So like I'm unfortunately having to make a lot of choices based on finances as well currently. So I'm looking forward to going to Estonia for my first time and playing the course and seeing like the support like I see on Instagram and stuff every time Kristen flies home or flies away. Like
as a news crew.
So like it's pretty obvious that the country is probably pretty similar to what we see in Finland as far as like their support of the sport. So I'm really excited to see that. And, but I'll study on the coverage.
Okay. I know that's a wild 3 weeks, and from a Disc Golf Network, Disc Golf, Pro Tour perspective, the major, right in between those two events, I think I'm going to have a talk with the guys from Norway, maybe as soon as the podcast is over, about some of the stuff going on over at Crocal. It's just all a very exciting international trip and adventure that it has so many facets and components to it. So was just surprised to not see you as part of the Estonian one. Someone said on our chat board, and usually they're right. Someone said, as you just referenced, that you have medical expenses that you had mentioned on, was it Upshot, that you had $78,000 in your for your
Just
surgery?
on the surgery, yeah.
Okay. People immediately, to me at least,
Yep.
that sucks. Like, let's just be honest. Too bad
Yeah.
that couldn't all happen in Norway, because it would have probably been like, I don't know,
They quoted me
$9.
in Norway. No, in Norway they quoted me 20,000, the equivalent of 20,000
Okay.
American.
Okay,
But
so go
I
on.
didn't. Hindsight, I would have done that. Like if I could go back, I would
Sure.
have got the surgery in Norway. And
Okay.
I think like I probably could have stayed with one of the Norwegian people to forego like Airbnb lodging costs, and I still would have had to change my flight because I had to wait 10 to 14 days for the swelling to go down before I could get surgery. And so that's why the Norwegian hospital people told me, you might as well just go home, get it done at home. Also in my mind, I thought, okay, it'll be way less than that in the US and with my insurance and stuff. So hindsight, I definitely would have got it done in Norway, but life doesn't work like that.
Yeah, so that, I guess that, without getting maybe too much into your business, share what you will. Immediately, people would then ask, as somebody just said on the board, is there a way to lean into the PDGA insurance? Is there a way, where do you stand with like Discraft and providing, or any other sponsor helping or providing any kind of insurance or anything like that? How does that work for you as one of our most prominent players in the game? Where do those scenarios, how do they play out for you?
Yeah, so we don't have insurance like as an athlete in the sport, like through PDJ, Pro Tour, any sponsors. Like I don't know of any single pro player that has insurance through the company they work with or through the PDJ or Pro Tour. So the PDJ's insurance policy does cover tournaments and official practice days, which mine was considered an official practice day. But their policy limit is 25,000, so that's what I got back. Yep. So
okay.
Yeah, they were very helpful and communicative, and but yeah, it's like less than a third of the costs of just the surgery, let alone like all the x-rays and PT and all that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's crazy how quickly life can change. We were preparing for, like I was going to buy a disc golf course and like create like a, something like Kale has or like Macbeth has. And like we were talking about having kids and, like in a same sex relationship, we have to do IVF, which is not very cheap. And like we were going to do both of those things like within the year. And, luckily we had that money disposable that I could pay for the surgery, but now life's just quite a bit different and yeah, just put stuff on hold quite a bit.
Yeah. With that, knowing that you've gone through this and you're probably one of the higher compensated players in our game, as you should be, but and knowing most people are going to be even less fortunate than that, any words of advice, any takeaway, anything you would warn or suggest or firmly, shout to anyone else on the tour or otherwise that from what you've learned and gone through?
Yeah, I definitely talked to all my peers about it. Like, get health insurance. And I had health insurance, but make sure, like, I didn't even know that it was a question that I needed to ask, that does this policy cover surgical procedures? Like, so like not only get insurance, but like know what your plan covers. And like, it's crazy because you can't like know what's going to happen to you. Like, that's the whole point of having insurance. It's like, what if something happens? But like, yeah, anyway, but also like just yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's funny now because now that I got hurt, people say to me like, "Oh, be careful." And it's like, I'm being more careful than I ever have. Like, trust me. But like, if you haven't gotten hurt, be careful, because like now that I've gotten hurt, I am super careful. But before then I wasn't. And that's not why I got hurt or anything. I actually was being cautious, but like, it's literally like even with Kristen's recent injury and her rib, the first question is, and like, this is kind of morbid, I guess, but like when someone dies, it's like, what happened? What happened? Why? How did this happen? It's like, it's not about how it happened. It's just shit happens, like you can't plan for these things. So like, just set yourself up to where it's not going to like affect your whole life, financially at the very least. Like I couldn't plan like how the surgery was going to go and if my body was going to accept this foreign like metal in my leg, but like I could have set myself up better financially. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the lesson is. It's just like, be prepared for anything, be safe, be cautious, like, and I don't also want to like deter anyone away from like living their life. And like, if something happens and it's like, not that it's like a dangerous thing or anything, but it's like, I don't know. Because for me, it changed a lot. It changed like the things that I felt comfortable doing. Like I loved rock climbing. I haven't been rock climbing since. Like, any kind of activity that feels like dangerous, I haven't done. And it's like, I hate that for myself because like it's changed how I live my life, like day to day. And like, yeah, like fear is a crazy thing. And I hate it. I hate it for anyone. And, I don't know what the lesson is. Just,
well,
I don't know.
I mean, you can only be as prepared as you think you are, because you just never know what's going to happen. Like, you're right. I mean, anything.
Save money. Don't buy shit you don't need.
Yeah,
you don't need another shirt. You don't need. Okay. That is the lesson for sure, because there's a lot of things. I don't even buy that many things, but like, hindsight, I didn't need to order 3 appetizers. All right. Just like chill out. All right. Take a chill pill.
What I, and you kind of just alluded to it, but if someone said, "Oh, you broke your ankle," or something like that happened, knowing you, like Johnny and I do, for instance, we'd assume that's rock climbing. We'd assume that's tubing and jumping in a lake or a river or canoeing or doing any one of these fun and crazy but adventurous things that you have always been known to do and partake in. And sometimes you're even leading the group to all the fun and all of that stuff. And I think of all the other competitors that we have, MPO and FPO, that go out and partake in what makes tour life your off days and can be your fun days. And then just to have this different perspective now, like you said, to kind of tamper some of that adventure, it has to be a really interesting perspective for you. And one thing that I can say is I feel like we're seeing some of the players, like you just said, maybe be a little bit more frugal, and we're not seeing them like get money and then immediately go blow it. We know Ricky's kind of famously tight with his money, which is awesome. Gannon Burr, there was a post. Did you see the post? He wins this weekend, and then Cora Dollin's giving him a hard time saying the guy just won this weekend, and he wanted to know how much the onion rings were. So it's like, that's awesome. It's just so tough to everyone to keep it in perspective. Like, hey, find a way to protect yourself, protect your assets, but also protect, your body. But insurance also feels like such a shitty scam. Like, I'm not going to,
I know.
You give them all this money in case something happens, and then half the time they F you over and say, well, that didn't count. We're not gonna pay you on that anyway.
I could not agree more.
Right?
Larry.
And it's even the worse in the U.S.
An argument. I got into an argument with a friend of mine who is an insurance agent, and I was just like, it's a scam. You're preying on people that are fearful. Like, it's like, oh, you're scared this is going to happen. Give me $600 a month, and like, and then I am paying $650 a month for the first time in my life. I never had insurance till I was 32 years old.
How's that working out for you?
Got injured for my first time, nothing. And so,
I'm sorry. I know. Trust me. I've said this for years. This is way off topic, but I've said for years, someone could go out. There could be a kid in the street. I run out into the street, or somebody runs out in the street, pushes the kid out of the way to get hit by the bus, saves the kid's life, but that person may go on to be bankrupt because they were simply doing a good deed and they didn't have the right amount or enough insurance. And it's a whole nother story for another day about everything that is at least wrong with the U.S. culture. But anyway, it's wild. So...
yeah.
So if you want to support Paige Pierce,
yes,
you do need that extra drive. You do need that extra passion. You do need that extra fierce.
You do,
because I think I'm going to go out and get a drive.
Yeah, as you should.
You
Sounds like a great
should.
disc.
All right.
Don't put it on a wall. You need to throw it.
No, it's gonna. Yeah, no, it's a thrower. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
no, I'm gonna.
For sure.
I just bought a bunch of Simon.
We're releasing some new ones this week.
Oh,
do they happen to be related to the Portland Open, or just?
We're actually releasing 2 new ones.
Okay.
I don't know the exact dates, but socials will say all that. But yeah, Portland Open commemorative one. I won't say the plastic type yet, just in case we're changing it. It could be, we're not 100%, but we're releasing another one for AmNats. I'm going to AmNats.
Oh, cool.
I saw that.
Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, I'm going on Thursday. I got a 5 a.m. flight. I'll be there by like noon. And we're releasing our Tour Series plastic for this year, the Z Jawbreaker Flex. We're doing the drives in that. I think we're only actually releasing 500 of them, but it's in person. I think he said we might send them to wholesalers too, but
you could set one aside.
Anyway, details.
Yeah, details. Speaking of those details, I do want to get this plug in there because I saw it on the socials. So good job, Discraft. You and Bob Giulio, the team manager, teaming up to play the toboggan course. And then at AmNats, other teams can come out and challenge ultimately the score that you guys shoot. Did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah. And so like just signing up, you get a disc. And then if you beat the score that Bob and I get, it's best shot doubles. If you beat the score that Bob and I get, you get a secondary disc. That's like a LE, which I believe are these drives. And we're gonna, and it's cool because I get to like have a practice round at Toboggan when D-Glow's coming up pretty soon. And it's also an Elite Plus. So I'm excited. Like this is a very last minute thing. But I was like, I'll definitely come to Michigan for a couple days. I haven't, since I got hurt last year, it was before D-Glow. And so I didn't get to go to D-Glow. So it's been like over a year since I was at the warehouse. So I'm going to just thumb through so many discs. And, also like, I feel like every year at AmNats, like someone is just like shoots a freaking 1050 rated tournament. Next thing you know, they're on the Pro Tour. So like, I'm excited to like see the fresh faces that I'll probably be seeing on tour next year and seeing what kind of rounds people put down out there that are AMs. On their way to being pro. And
Paul Kranz and Ilkin Grow come to mind. Those are the two that went into a big playoff a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Paul obviously going on to do what he did. Ilkin is also, they're both young guns, and Paul's on the tour full time. So that's exactly what you're talking about. The only question is, how in the world do you get dragged down to get Bob as your partner? They couldn't give you a better partner? Expecting you to do all the work?
Bob has some stuff going for him. He's really confident and he's really good at shit talking.
He's really confident. He's confident in you as his partner.
And he's very competitive with me. So I think he's gonna even though we're teammates, I think he's gonna be like trying to carry me,
Yeah.
you know, instead of vice versa. So I think he's gonna make a good partner.
Okay. I mean, I wish you guys the best.
He's a really spinny thrower, you know.
Okay.
He's got a lot of spin, so yeah.
I mean,
He's got some stuff going for him.
Of course he does. But if it behooves him to shoot really well, because the worse they shoot, the more stuff Discraft has to give away.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
So there's incentive there as well. And I know he often listens the next day on to Smashbox here. So Bob, we love you. I need some custom stamp discs sent to me. It's another story.
I want to see him bring back the TI discs. Just saying.
All right, Paige. I think we've covered. Here's a generic one as we start to wrap up. You did the circuit. Now things look different now from 10 years ago when Smashbox was the only show that there was any thought of going on, because you were the only podcast available pretty much after a tournament. And we know you've staggered stance last night. You obviously talking to the Upshot. Is there anything that any of us
staggered stance? What are you saying?
Nick and Matt show. It's called Staggered Stance now.
You were on it last night, right?
Oh, no idea. Had no idea. Anyway, okay. Yes, I was on that show.
Yeah, and you have your own podcast, so.
Yeah, well, I definitely purposely skipped the whatever that other one's called with Brody for this.
Oh, okay. I think they're tonight as well, and they go on before us.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's not your favorite one. Busy. Is that a fair statement?
Nope.
Okay.
Do not subscribe.
Any insight as to why?
I just think that it's too. I just think Yuli's a good friend of mine, so I love Yuli very much, but it's just too gossip and drama and just like speculation. Like, okay. I don't even think Brody watches FPO at all, and he's just like saying all these things, and I just don't want to go on there and support.
Fair enough. I mean, that's just it. Is now, and I guess that's kind of to my point too. Is we now have so many different options and so many different things that draw or detract people to go to various podcasts or people they do or don't like or whatever. So I can understand that. My question though, ultimately, is with where you've been and talking to us now for a couple hours, talking to other podcasts. Is there anything that wasn't asked of you or that you wanted to make sure that you still share after this weekend? Like, because I feel like you probably had a whole barrage of very different questions and topics. Is there anything you're like, well, I didn't even talk about blank? Is there anything?
Well, I'm going after AIM Nationals. I'm going to Bonnaroo to do a disc golf clinic.
Heck yeah. Again, right?
Yeah, the marketing director, we went 2 years ago just like as like festival goers, and I was just posting on my Instagram like, and I guess it caught the interest of the Bonnaroo marketing director.
Heck yeah.
And so last year he invited me to come, all expenses paid, and like do a disc golf clinic and blah blah blah. And 750 plus people came out.
Wow.
And to the clinic, and so they invited me back this year, and we're going this year again. And like, we got more discs made because we did a special release disc and we gave them away for free. And so this year we're doing the same thing and preparing for a lot more people because it was cool too, because Discraft came and they were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like when you told me you went to festivals and like that, disc golf was like this, and that everyone recognized you, and disc golf was like whatever. And they were like, whoa, like, I get it now. Like, this is crazy. Like, how can we help? How can we, so it was cool for them to see that, like, yes, it was like an off week of the tour, but like I was growing the sport and like, teaching disc golf to new people, and like also like people that had heard of disc golf or that knew what disc golf was, like teaching them like, hey, there's a pro scene, all this. So anyway, excited to be going back. And actually Kevin Jones is going this year too. So he's going to help me with the clinic, and he's got like, his DJ persona, and he's going to play his like disc golf songs, and like he's got like disc golf graphics. So behind the clinic there will be like like a disc golf basket and stuff. So like people with like maybe like shorter attention spans or like that, like are wanting to go hear music, like they can still hear Kevin's like songs while we're doing the clinic and the putting games. We did like a putting relay and like Ring of Fire and all that stuff, and people just had such a good time. So excited for that. And then I headed to Preserve in Europe, and I don't know what else.
Have you looked at the lineup for Bonnaroo? Is there someone you're really excited to see? I mean, you get the trip out there, but is clearly the music is a big portion of that for you, as you're a pretty, at least you have been a regular festival goer. So have you looked at the lineup at all?
I will. I hope that he's not watching this, because I just want to tell you guys, like, candidly, but the lineup this year isn't my favorite. Last year was amazing. This year, it's good. There's a lot of people I haven't seen. Red Hot Chili Peppers and like Parcels. Post Malone, I haven't seen him. I'm not really like a huge fan, but he seems to have like a cool personality. So I'm excited to like see how that all goes. But like bands that I actually love that are going to be there. Green Sky Bluegrass is going to be there, and Gary Clark, and I think it's going to be funny. Like T-Pain is playing.
I was just going to say, I see T-Pain on there.
Yeah, T-Pain. That's going to be funny. I'm definitely going to go to that one. But like, there's a lot of like EDM that I recently got into EDM because of Kevin. Yeah. And like seeing it live, and like all the DJs like have such a like loving message of like, hey, treat each other as equals and like spread the love and all this. So like all their lyrics are very like optimistic and like positive. So, and like plus the lasers and the lights are just so cool. Like, so and Bonnaroo is like the best festival to go to as far as cleanliness. Okay. The porta pot usually there's porta potty, but at Bonnaroo there's like actually flushable toilets, and there's like a full-time staff in there cleaning it and stuff. So like it's like you get all the festival vibes and experiences, but you don't have to worry about like being
not gross.
Dingy.
It's not necessarily gross.
Yeah. totally. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. And then I guess just like going to Europe, Ayla and I never took a honeymoon, so like going a week and a half early, like that'll kind of be like a honeymoon type of thing. We haven't called it that, but maybe we'll just pretend it is or something.
Two
But and I'm home alone right now. She gets home from Spain tomorrow.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Two of our good friends just got married on Saturday, so that's why she didn't come to Portland. And she gets home tomorrow, and then I leave Thursday morning, so I get to see her for like 7 or 8 hours, and then I'll head out. But we'll see each other again in a couple days after I get back from Michigan. So awesome. I don't know what else. Just life.
Any other
going well.
I was gonna say, sorry. Obviously the AmNats. You occasionally throughout the years have sprinkled in an appearance at an Am Worlds. Obviously,
Junior Worlds.
Junior Worlds, Pro Masters Worlds is going on next week. We talked to Dana and Kale and Paul and all the usual suspects. Steve Rico and Felberg and Revere, all those regulars, and then of course all the other legends of the game. I'm excited to go see everybody there. But I think ahead to an Am Worlds and a Junior Worlds. Some of that stuff conflicts with your schedule. Some of it may or may not. Is there any other scheduled appearances at some of those other events where play isn't necessarily your concern?
Yeah, not that I know of right now. I think for me to go to anything like that in this current year, I would need to be like compensated because of the financial strain I'm in. But in the past, like I've just been able to just go freely and stuff like that. But also now there's so many more pro tours. So like the weeks off are few and far between. And when I do have a week off, it's nice to just not be Paige Pierce and to just like relax. So I don't have any yet planned, but I'm not opposed to it. I definitely like doing stuff like that and just like watching the future of the sport or the pioneers of our sport, the masters that I've been looking up to. So I'll definitely be watching all that coverage for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, we could probably talk another 2 to 9 hours, more about festivals, Ayla adventures, all sorts of things. But we don't want to hold you up. We know you got a lot of stuff to do.
You see my kitty cat?
How many cats and dogs are you guys up to now? Oh wow, you didn't have that when I was there, I don't think.
We rescued him from he was in a friend of ours' hood of his car, and we rescued him.
Wow.
We were like, he matches our puppy, and he's the best.
One of your well, I was going to call her neighbor. She doesn't live too far away. Tina, I know, just found a cat underneath her deck, and then she's redoing the house. And I'm sure that could be a whole nother segment of house upkeep and restorations with the Oakley household and you guys. Like, yeah, you got plenty going on. It's just
be careful with that house remodeling. We know what it does.
Yeah,
definitely.
Remember you and your boot, doing some demo on the bathroom, right?
Yeah, I couldn't sit still. But one last thing, actually, this could further conversation off air if you want. But next year, U.S. Women's is in Manitowoc.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and my father-in-law now is the tournament director. Anyway, he's been reaching out to me about like advice for like length of the course and all that, layout and all that. And he was trying to get like some people up there to like preview what he currently wants the course to be like. And I was like, well, yeah, why, like, so that you don't have to pay their way. Like, what if we just did some kind of like exhibition match? And I was thinking we could film it on your channel, maybe.
Assuming I'm here in the area, I'm on.
Yeah,
I'm
so
on board.
let's. Yeah, like a course preview thing and trying to do all that. But yeah, you could film it, and since you're a Wisconsinite.
Yeah, it's literally from Johnny's house.
40 minutes from where I'm sitting
straight
right
north
now.
of where we are. So yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Have they talked about what course is it going to be?
I mean, there's going to be 400 people, so it's going to...
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm personally thinking for FPO, is it going to be at Manitowoc, or is it going to be Silver Creek, or is it going to be at Roland Ridge?
Probably
I'm not sure.
Roland Ridge and
Silver.
I'm guessing they'll use Roland and Silver.
Was my guess.
Correct.
But.
Yeah.
And there's a contingency plan in case it's like rains out, because apparently Roland Ridge is like really
swampy,
susceptible to like So
I can't agree with that. They'll yell at me, but yes.
Yes, but that's the plan as of now. Is Roland Ridge and Silver Creek, the Silver Creek like gold layout or something.
Yeah,
but
so Super Silver or whatever it is.
That's the one. Super Silver.
yeah. It's got like 7 configurations, and he's renamed them every year.
Holes. Yeah.
Yep.
What used to be a little 18-hole course in 2000 is now so much more. So let's certainly talk. We'll exchange some messages and get a crew together, and you can count on me to come be part of that and help out in whatever capacity.
Awesome. Don't tell Brody I hate his thing, okay?
He might even be watching himself.
I'm
so
sure.
He tunes in once in a while, but
okay. He talks shit all the time, so
That's fine. I would just stay off the internet for like the next week if I were you.
Yeah.
I will.
Now they're going to come after you.
I'm already. Yeah, I'm not even going to open my Twitter.
They always do anyway.
I know.
They always do.
It's funny.
All right, Paige, seriously, thank you. We barely talked about the actual tournament, and I think we're okay with that. We love catching up with you, and hopefully the rest of the world loves getting so much additional insight. Someone said it earlier, and we couldn't agree more. Whenever you're here, they get so much more in terms of your insight and your perspective than they could ask for, and
love it.
We all appreciate it. So thank you for being.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Always. You're always welcome.
All right. Well, congrats again on the victory. We look forward to many more, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. I think I'm calling the action for the Preserve.
Oh, nice.
I'm calling it from Ben, but so you'll be on the screen for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Paige. Have
All
a
right,
good night.
bye, y'all.
Good
See ya.
night.
Paige Pierce.
A 5-time world champion.
Yep. She does that.
She,
She's done that.
she's done that. Well, maybe she still does.
That was a question I had randomly. What's next on her goals? Is the world's her
I
still
think another major
/
because isn't she still tied with Paul at like 17 or 18
or something,
like one
17?
shy of Kenny? I think
Yeah,
they're both
something
like
like
one
that.
shy of Kenny, and I would assume
worlds
that's-
would count. She could check off 2
there's
boxes there.
There's a lot of things that would
Yeah.
count. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, thank you so much to Paige for joining us. See, Ace Run, our friends out there. Ace Run, looking forward to seeing you guys. Is it going to be the good-looking one or both of you out there?
Just leave that open-ended.
Cleverly worded. That I'll see in Emporia in a few days. That's what I'd love to know. But yeah,
I think it's
travel
gonna be-
safely.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be both.
Both. Oh, all right. Well,
So you
sort
get the
that out
good-looking
as
one.
you may.
You definitely get the good-looking one.
Yes. Looking forward to it. All right, Ben, that's everything for in terms of the regular show. Maybe we can have a quick after show.
I think we got that.
I know it's already been a long night here, but when Paige has so much insight and additional details, you just can't get away from it.
Can't
We love
say
it.
no.
Wow, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Paige. Also, of course, thank you to Dynamite for a very interesting opening segment with him as well. Looking forward to next week when I come. Next week I'll be doing the show remotely, presumably. It'll be Tuesday night from Emporia for me. So we'll have to see. And will we have one round? Will be already in? Yeah, I think one round of golf will already be in. So we're gonna maybe even we have some world's leaders or something of that nature. We'll see how it goes. So, yeah, that'll be next week. And I'm excited to be working with the PDGA and doing some stuff, conversations about possibly some kind of recap shows, live or otherwise. We'll see. And then Ace Run Pro, along with Gatekeeper, are going to be the backbone to getting FP40 and MP40 coverage that I believe will be edited and put together and then ultimately put on the PDGA channel, I believe is how that's working. So that's where you'll be able to watch. Everybody says they want to watch the legends and the pioneers of the game. Next week will be your opportunity to get all of that and then some. So,
And I think that's going to be more and more true as the years go on, and the bigger our sport got, the more
yeah,
the
a lot of
names
some
are.
of these names fading into that Masters division.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun when we see the likes of a Yuli, or possibly a Doss, a Sexton, a Coling. All of those guys eventually are going to be sliding into that MP40 division.
I give props to Avery Jenkins, who swore he'd never play Masters, and he still hasn't.
And he's not playing this weekend, or next weekend, I should say, which, not gonna lie, disappoints me. I would love to see him playing for the world title in Emporia, but he won't be there. EMAC will be one of the other world champs. EMAC, of course, your 2010 world champ, the year after Avery won in 2009. All right, that's it. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have a very quick intermission where we're going to shut things down and then come right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't click on anything. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with our after show. So once again, thank you to Dana. Thank you to Paige Pierce. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's episode 509, and we'll stand down for a minute and come back in the after show. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 509's After Show. Johnny, Ray says you already forgot about flowers, giving out flowers. But this weekend,
We killed it. They literally gave out flowers.
they literally gave out flowers.
They did. They literally gave the winners flowers. Nice. It is the City of Roses, I believe, is what
No, don't go coming at me
I'm just saying.
with any logic.
Terry, City of
Because
Roses.
my manhood is so fragile that I had to go post on the internet and say some derogatory comment because they handed a guy flowers. You know, roses in the City of Roses.
Which is funny because
We continue to lower the bar
for idiocy.
every damn week.
Well, I will say, there's the Rose Bowl.
I don't want to win that either.
because it's roses. It's too flowery.
I mean, gosh.
Well, that's too bad.
You certainly unique in the style and the
I liked it.
presentation and everything else.
I liked it a lot.
I think I can confidently say I don't care who liked it or who didn't. I thought it was great.
I mean, ultimately, it's the vase that's the trophy. The flowers go inside because it's the city, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I want to open this door up. I know you had a rant, a take, a Twitter take, a hot, maybe not so hot take about just letting. I almost want to say it's almost like the meme of just, someone says, the one guy's pinching the other guy's lips and saying, shh, just let people enjoy things, as opposed to diminishing somebody's win because people weren't there or it was a specific type of course or whatever that is. I don't know.
I just would like of course there is a slight. There's an easy example of the Kristen Page component to that, but I definitely wasn't just leaning into that.
I thought you were diminishing Gannon Burr's win because Chris Dickerson wasn't there. He was busy winning the Tennessee state championships.
Yeah, exactly. It is funny how it feels as if just nothing can be accepted at the face value in terms of congratulating for a win. Because there has to be something that discredits it or some kind of perceived asterisk or whatever. And I again, I know I'm just hissing in the wind with all of that. And,
you are.
And people want to whatever. And I'm not saying I've never had an insensitive or a bad take or I don't know. But
I know you have.
Once I did. But you can only beat the people that show up. And the funniest part about that is I've been saying that for 20 years.
Correct.
That's all you can do. So you can look back at other podcasts. This isn't particular to any one, specific winner or situation. It's something I've been saying for decades. You can only beat the people that show up. You cannot say. I almost don't even want to get into it anymore.
Okay.
You guys all know what I'm talking about. Just leave it at face value.
Great shot. Great job. Good shooting. Congratulations on your win.
Sure.
You shot great.
Yeah. All right. Another topic of conversation, though, from the weekend, Ray had said the Simon Lizotte bonus show was really fun to watch free during the first round. And he did the final round on DGN Pro. Yeah. Bad event to have to commentate solo.
Which is funny, Ray. I think I had said I watched some of it on the first day.
Yeah, because you're too cheap to pay for Pro.
I get Pro.
I know.
I get Pro, buddy.
I know. I'm kidding.
But then my thought was it's the perfect time to watch it on Sunday. And it's a little harder for him, but for me, that's what I want to see because, and the funny thing is I didn't get a chance to watch much of it.
He's not focused on every shot?
You don't have to be focused. Guess what? Gannon had a 10-stroke victory.
How much attention are you already paying, right?
I'd say, this is perfect for Simon because who cares what's going on the course? Gannon's going to win. And I'll tell you what, the point of the simulcast, the alternate commentary, whatever you want to call it, isn't to focus on the golf, probably. It's more of a personality thing. And depending on how you want to take it, you could focus on the golf. If you wanted to be more, professional, it's a little bit more difficult because I don't think you have Mo in your ear telling you all the things that are coming up. So a lot of times you're guessing. You maybe don't know if they're going to show Rebecca Cox what throw she's on.
Sure.
So the fact that it's a 10-stroke margin of it's an 8-stroke margin of victory, but 10 strokes going into that final round, man, that was, I had said out loud, I'm like, that's the one time, not the one time, it's the perfect opportunity to sit and not have to pay attention, be able to listen to Simon, just, go off on whatever he wants to talk about, have whatever guests he wants to talk about. I think that's, I like that. I think that's great. Like, and yeah, it's just, as opposed to a where there maybe is a really tight battle where I'm going to want more information about what's happening on the course.
Sure.
That's my take on it.
I was able to consume what ended up being only the last half hour or so of the Simon version on Friday. I saw that he had Steve Dodge and they were eating ice cream. That was first of all, exactly what I guess I would expect.
That's what it should be.
It was funny because Simon was closing out and essentially saying he felt as if he was a little distracted and or didn't pay enough attention to the golf. Again, everyone's going to work themselves into whatever style they do or don't want. People will either be drawn to it or otherwise.
Yeah, I saw him. He had Casey on the first day. Casey had just gotten off the course, had shot like a 6 down or something.
Oh, yeah. They had done some
3 or 6
interviews
down.
remotely, so to speak.
Yeah, and he brought him in and chatted with him. They talked about the course and things like that. And they talked about Simon and Casey's upcoming course. That is the perfect opportunity. I mean, it's basically a little Simon podcast while he's away from home or away from the tour. Yeah,
and just also to I don't want to say reset the bar, but to know Simon very blessed. And he said as much, but very blessed that he had Matt from Staggered Stance.
From what? Wait.
Yeah, from Staggered Stance.
No,
he had Matt
also
there to do some of the show switching and do some of the, we'll say, basic directing. Yes. And having Matt being knowledgeable.
Being able to bring in guests.
And being able to bring in a guest. Like, there was a few extra things that they had going for themselves that we shouldn't necessarily expect at other events. So that's nothing but kudos and love to Matt. And Simon, again, accordingly recognized that.
Because I think normally, if you don't have a Matt Graham, there would be someone from the Pro Tour that would set you up. And then it would be pretty much a static show. You maybe the occasional shot switch between a full screen of Simon and then the action. But with Matt Graham, he can set up his own shots and his own screens and bring in more guests.
He knows the programming, which is what he knows show directing and switching.
Which is what I want.
He has a lot of those. Not only tools and resources and assets, but he has that knowledge and background to be able to pull something of that nature off.
And I don't think I'm alone when I say this. I don't want an commentary stream of
just different people saying
of like we'll just play pretend you and Doss on one and Philo and Ian on another. I don't want that. Like that's bad to me. Like that. What's the point? Sure, everyone has favorites, and maybe in an ideal world you could have 8 different groups, or you can just pick the one you want the most. But no, give me your standard play-by-play and color person, and then you have a fun cast. And ultimately, I think Matt Graham knocked it out of the park because he was able to bring in guests and things like that. And I think that's needed. Having just 2 people maybe sit there and chat. Listen, having to sit through this podcast for 3 hours, do you really want... I would, if I were to ever do something like that, I would bring in guests. 100%. 1,000%. I would not do it unless I could line up guests.
Yeah. So it went on this weekend. I think there's some more that are scheduled. I don't know if we're going to see another Jomez version and or another Ian/Central Coast version. I think there's a few more that are scheduled. I at one point I thought some of the guys at Foundation were on board to some degree. I don't have the schedule.
Maybe later in the year.
Yeah, I think at some point there was conversation about them being involved. So yeah, really cool. Continue to take it in. I'll be the first to admit, like a lot of weekends, if I'm not physically working the event, I'm doing 100 other things that aren't even going to be related to the event. This
What did you
weekend
do this
pretty much
weekend?
fits that. Friday night, hung out a little bit with the girls, but then Saturday we had a heck of a long day. Saturday morning, took my 13 and 15-year-old girls, surprised them.
Oh, that's right. You went to
And
Wrigley.
we drove down to Chicagoland, and first we went to the Blue Man Group and watched the 2:00 show at the Blue Man Group
That's cool.
at the Briar or something or other.
Did they
theater.
enjoy the Blue Man Group?
Not so much. Did I enjoy the Blue Man Group? Not nearly as much as last time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Just because you've seen it before,
No,
or it
no,
wasn't
'cause
as good?
I feel like it wasn't as good, or maybe
Okay.
maybe you only need to see them once in your life, and that's enough.
Maybe.
But I was fully. It's been long enough that I was like, oh, I'm ready to see this again. And I was just surprised that I didn't enjoy it. And it's tough. The show can have a 4-year-old and a 94-year-old and everyone in between.
Mm-hmm.
You can enjoy it, but maybe it is just one of those things you can only see once in 20 or 30 years, and that's the limit. I don't know.
Okay.
I would recommend anyone goes and sees it.
I don't know if I've seen
but
Blue
I don't
Man
think
Group.
you would know if you did. So
No, because I think we went to go see Stomp. Is what we
yeah,
went to.
different, very different.
No, I know. I think you and I and the families.
And
right?
I've seen Stomp like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I don't think.
And
I've
I
seen
would
Blue
go
Man
back
Group.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Stomp in New York. I've seen Stomp in Green Bay. I've seen them.
I've seen a lot of. The funny thing is, I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of shows. So I would not be shocked if I saw Blue Man Group and I forgot.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not gonna lie.
I at this point have no interest in seeing them again
Okay.
unless something massively changes. I would assume they've did things slightly differently than they did. Technology and such has been so much better even in the last 10 years that some things were different. But yeah, anyway, so we did that. That was 90-ish minutes, and then it was kind of rainy and drizzly, and we were uncertain if the Cubs were going to actually play or not. And they were scheduled to play against the Cincinnati Reds. And we ultimately walked about a mile from the Blue Man Theater up to, because I already had a parking spot, which, like any big city, sometimes you just want to hold on to.
Don't move it.
And we're in the Chicagoland area, so I parked. And so then ultimately we walked up to Wrigley. We kind of milled around for a while because we were uncertain. The one thing I didn't want to have happen is buy a ticket to the game, or buy 3 tickets in this case,
And then have it delayed.
and then
like
have it
2 hours
postponed
or
to another date. Because what are the odds that I'm going to be around
Yeah.
for another date? Not very good. So that was my, like, canceling's one thing, but if they started and postponed it, that's what I didn't want. So ultimately, we did some walking around. We then bought tickets. We went in. Thankfully, I bought tickets that were in the covered section. We sat there. The game was supposed to start at 6:15. By 7 or 7:15, there was a break in the rain, and I'm like, okay, they're going to get started. It didn't break. The rain continued. 8:30, 8:45, they finally make an announcement saying, yeah, it looks like we're going to be good to go. We're going to start at 9:30. Everybody's hanging out. It was a long time after that.
I can only imagine, like, your kids' cell phones are starting to die.
Yeah, thankfully I had them prepped with
the
they had the battery pack.
Nice.
But and they were so good. They were such good sports because it was starting to become a very long day. And they're marginal baseball fans at best. Allie is way more than Mackenzie. And sure enough, 9:35, it's also supposed to again stop. Still doesn't stop. Raining. They clear off the tarp, get the field ready, everybody warms up, and they pretty much played through some form of rain almost the entire game. I was going to call it tournament. The entire game. And you may or may not care anything about baseball. It was just wild that in the top of the second, bases loaded, and the right fielder for the Cubs drops the ball on an air, simple fly ball, just drops it.
Okay.
Ultimately, 3 runs score there, total of 4 score on the inning, all unearned, on the air. 4-0. Talk about letting the wind out of your sails, right? You just waited 3 hours for a game to start, and then an error clears the bases. Bottom of the same inning, bottom of the second. Bases loaded, same right fielder, grand slam. He totally redeems himself. Hits the grand slam to tie the game up. Some more runs were scored in the next inning. Move all the way to the 7th. 2 more by the Cubs. All I'm thinking is, please just don't tie. Please, we're ready to be done. We don't want extra innings. It's midnight.
Left.
Sure enough, they scored 2 more in the 7th or 8th, bottom of the 8th. No, bottom of the 7th, maybe, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, Cubs go on to win 7-5. And most importantly, out of the whole story, just before the game starts, I message our PDGA executive director,
Doug Bjerkes,
who has a wide range of sports teams that he loves.
He's moved around a lot, and he grew up in different places. He's a Vikings fan.
Yep.
He's a Reds fan.
Yep.
Denver
Nuggets fan,
I think
maybe, or Denver.
He might be in
Denver something or other, probably, because he lived there.
Yeah. So he's all over.
We bet a beverage, an adult beverage, to be paid off in Mexico when we're both there after Worlds for another endeavor. When it's all said and done, I think I earned myself a Dos Equis or something of that nature.
Well, good.
Maybe a Corona. I don't know what they'll have for me, but yeah, I reached out to him, and he very very kindly wrote back the next day and said, upset about the outcome of the game, his Reds lost, but excited to see you out spending time with your daughters. So it was, all in all, it was a great day. Went over to Cane's, which was a highlight for the kids too, at 1 a.m. Left, they're open till 3, right across the street from Wrigley.
Yeah.
Left downtown Chicago at 1 a.m., got home at 3 a.m. With 7 miles left in the tank before I could get gas on the cheap side of the
on the border. Yeah.
And long day, and I couldn't have gone any better. So
I'm glad you had fun with the girls.
Yeah, it was good. Anyway,
a lot of commiserating on our board right now between Reds fans and Mets fans. I mean, again, I'm a Brewers fan, have been forever. I understand right now. I think last time I looked, we were up like 7 games in the division, but I also know that come All-Star break, the Brewers tend to just crumble. So I'm not getting any hopes up. I did want to send a good message to our buddy Jay Ray, who's a diehard Cubs fan. We went back and forth a little bit earlier in the season, and he was very, very emphatic confident about his Cubs. And since then, they've done nothing but suck, and the Brewers have done well. What are we up right now?
So the Brewers are leading the division by 6 games over the Cubs.
6 games over the Cubs right now. And this Brewers team, they had a very scrappy, very young team. I think maybe the youngest team in the league right now. I was watching the news the other night after a win, and they showed the Brewers have had like 6 bench clearing brawls this year. Like I don't know, not
scrappy team, all right.
Not true. I was going to say no punches thrown, but that's not true. There was one where the Brewers were throwing punches. But all I keep thinking is like, wow, yeah, they literally, they're like that's one of the things that the new coach obviously has been saying is how this team, it's next man up, they all have each other's back, all the typical coach speak stuff, but it's a fun team to watch. I've caught only a very little bit of it because I don't have cable, but I always get to watch the highlights, so it's good. We'll see. But again, knowing the Brewers like I do, I'm just prepared for a little bit of heartbreak.
Well, we'll see. Tom there says, my recent random Dubs partner was distracted during our round because he was doing fantasy baseball with one of the 2 hosts of this show.
Not fantasy baseball. I've never done fantasy baseball, so it's not me.
It wasn't me.
Maybe fantasy football.
Yeah, that sounds. And then you're playing in Madison,
but
Tom. Who?
Yeah, but that wouldn't be.
Who are you playing?
Yeah.
Who are you playing? Chad Inman's not in your.
Nope.
In a fantasy league with you, is he?
No. So
Tom,
we're nowhere near fantasy football right now.
Ace Run says, try being a Mets fan. I've been cursed all my life. Come on, Gary Carter doesn't have it on lockdown. Strawberry.
I mean, the '80s were a hell of a time, man.
They were. That's when I was most into baseball. Hence the baseball cards.
Tom says that maybe it's maybe fantasy disc. Maybe it's some fantasy disc golf.
That would be more.
That would be more along the lines. I got lots of stuff I'm brewing up right now, which is really nice. I can't quite share too much of it. I've given a hint or 2 out to some people. A lot of features coming up, and I've been prepping. And I'll say it up and down. ChatGPT, man. That thing works wonders.
That's my boy.
I can program like a mofo with that. All I think is how good someone who knows what they're doing could be with this program.
Think about all the people that are smarter than you.
As opposed to like
a
programming monkey like myself who barely knows anything and is able to get through stuff. It is a godsend for programming. I'm able to build all sorts of really awesome stuff with it, and I'm looking forward. I'll ask you, Terry, what's your take on this? Say I have 3, 4, 5 new features built middle of the season. Do I release them in the middle of the season, or do I wait until next season? I mean,
when you're calling them a feature, the question I guess is to what degree? Are they a feature, and are they game changing? They're
not game changing, thankfully. Like nothing is going to alter how the game is played, how the disc golf game is. I would never do that in the middle of the season. But you got to wonder, like, do you release it? Do you slow roll it? Do you make a big announcement maybe halfway through the season?
I mean, how much do people dislike you?
Yeah. I don't know. A lot. Maybe a lot. I don't know.
How with regard to these features, how much are they answering a burning desire or a scream? A demand. Like, are they?
Just a little.
Are they finally doing something that somebody's been clamoring for 2 years?
Not really. Not recently. Okay. They're more superfluous features that I think people will really like, but a little more analytical, a little more stat-based type of things. So
we're seeing some that say you should hang on and wait. Do it in the off season.
Do it in the off season, unless they are bug fixes. Yeah, no. Well, that's not true. I did roll out one bug fix this morning. My system pulls in PDGA members, and for some reason, since the beginning of the season, some members are getting pulled in without a PDGA number, and then they get pulled in again and again and again every time an event syncs. So I've got duplicates of like, a bunch of players. So if you make your fantasy picks for last weekend, you may have noticed that you saw like 2 or 3 players that were on there like 8 times. So I just made a small bug fix that basically says, hey, don't allow anybody that doesn't have a PDGA number. And there might be a little manual work on my side in the long run, but I need to get that fixed. I need to figure out why they're pulling in without PDGA, because nobody else, it hasn't happened until this year. So I think it has something to do with maybe one of the little upgrades we did in the off season. But yeah. Yeah,
right.
So I'll wait. We'll wait maybe later on this season we'll start debuting them, or at least showing people what they are, but they won't roll out.
Get them all excited come playoff time.
Yeah.
DGPT playoff time.
Playoff time.
All right. So I know we don't do a full-blown pick'em or prediction segment, so to speak.
Ooh.
But
our good friend Nate Doss is in the field.
Well, I wasn't going there yet. First, we're gonna lead into what's happening prior to our official podcast next week, which is also Nate Doss. But here specifically, I'm talking worlds. Masters World titles are on the line, and I'm going to start with the FP40 division.
Yeah,
Yep. You personally know, out of the 13, you know about 9 of them. Owen Scoggins, by rating, is at 987.
I'm predicting her to win.
Which let me get it all out. No, I'm just kidding. Owen Scoggins, 987, which makes her, the second or third highest rated woman in the world, regardless of division. Owen Scoggins at 987. Jen Allen, 956. Stephanie Vincent, 936. And then Sandy Hendel, 918. Ellen Widboom right behind her at 916. Anyway, we heard what Paige just said. A red eye.
She's a little
Emporia, all this stuff. Owen Scoggins, a 3-time world champ currently. Yeah, last year was her 3rd FP40 world championship title in a row. Is she your pick?
She's my pick.
Or is Jen Allen or anyone else? But Owen 987, Jen 956, Stephanie 936.
I think you're insane to go against Owen out here. Now, these courses do set up well for Jen. Jen being a powerhouse thrower that she is. I mean, she's in theory going to be out driving Owen by 50, 70 feet on a lot of these open shots. But Owen will be able to make that up in her approaches and her putts.
Okay.
So I still, I gotta go with Owen. Just, I mean, it just makes.
No, I mean,
It makes a ton of sense. It makes a ton of sense.
Make sense there. FP40 for what it's worth. Interesting.
Ace Run says, yeah, they're playing shorter courses until the final 9 at Champions Landing.
FP40, if I'm looking at this correctly, this is the draft schedule that was just posted, is at Boyce Bomb at Swope. That's one course, and then the other course is Peter Pan. And not until the final 9 do they play Champions Landing. Where
I'm still
they'll just play 9 holes.
Even on a shorter course, I'm still picking Owen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter Pan and Boyce and Ace Run. Give me Boyce Bomb. Give me what?
Do you have a prediction?
I mean, I'm not going out on any limbs by suggesting that Owen, finds a way over 5.5 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5 rounds. Highest rated woman, playing a course like Peter Pan as one of them, for instance, which is a very park style course. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm also no genius if I say Owen seems like the favorite there.
6 strokes.
Okay.
That's my prediction of what she wins
Johnny
by.
V says 6 strokes.
If
you guys want to put them into the chat, you can then come back and look real smart in 2 weeks.
If I give you 6 strokes with Owen,
wins by. You say
do you take,
wins
do you
by
take the
6.
over or under? Because you don't want to make anyone upset, Terry.
No, I mean, it's just we see that when Owen gets going,
and her putting was awful that final round or so of Portland. So maybe
BSF this weekend.
Yeah, we'll get to see a little bit of that. Hopefully, she takes it a little bit easier.
I think of.
I heard this golf is going to over.
I think over.
So you think she's going to win by more than 6? Okay.
I just think I think I can see her destroying a course like.
Yeah, so could I.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. All right. A little more difficult question then goes, of course, to the MP40. And just by rating, we'll read off our 2-time world champ, Joe Revere, is the highest rated player at 1035. Kale LaVisca, 1030. Josh Anthon at 1019. Martin Hendel. Interesting. Both Sandy and Martin Hendel are both the 4th highest rated players in their respective fields.
It's a Canadian thing.
Paul Oman also at 1016. Felberg 1014. Matt Blakely 1012. Dana Vicich, friend of the show, at 1012 as well. And then Matt Dollar, Eric McCabe, Pete Ulibarri in there, Batman in there, Scott Conway, so on and so forth. So does Joe Revere pick up his 3rd world title? Or are you taking someone else in the field?
I'm going to take someone else in the field.
I'm
going to take Kale.
Dang.
I think Kale
Did you see the significant injury to his hand that he posted just yesterday?
No, I did not.
A major gash, including...
On his throwing hand?
Including a trip to the ER.
On his throwing hand?
No.
Okay.
His left hand.
Okay.
But he'll still be injured.
He'll be injured,
He was at the ER on Saturday.
He's playing hurt.
See, this is why I can't wait for the sports bookies to come after me. I got all the
inside info that was posted on social media.
Of course, that's the first thing I looked at though was it's his non-throwing hand. It still looks painful, but it was his non-throwing hand.
I'm gonna go with Kale, even with with the injury.
Okay.
And then I think Joe taking a 2nd place.
Okay.
Then I will pick. I think Omen and Felberg. I think that's your top 4. Okay. And Dana at 5th.
Ooh,
close.
Top of the chase card.
Almost made it.
I say Joe because he's local. Joe's not really local to Peoria. He's local to Colorado.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I don't know if that's an 8-hour drive, but I don't consider that. And not playing at elevation, where Joe is used to playing. Mm-hmm. Joe won at elevation last year in Flagstaff.
I mean,
Joe's good, and
it's
I'm not
obviously
suggesting he won't be winning. I'm just saying he's definitely not local though.
All right,
EMAC, yes.
yeah.
I mean,
I have a question. Who do you take? I'm going to give you EMAC or Dana.
Oh,
Come on, two close friends of ours.
You have to obviously go beep. I have to give the nod to EMAC in this case.
It's his home course.
It's his home. He helped with input and design, and that doesn't make him unstoppable. Clearly, then again, I only say this because I haven't seen Dana throw a disc in 2024, and clearly he's playing.
He won.
I know,
down at Prairie.
I wasn't there for it, so it didn't happen.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen him throw a disc in 2024, and he's clearly doing it well. He's rated 10, 12. How off was I when I said that was his highest rating?
I don't know. They both work for House of Disc. They both, it's a company battle.
Okay. Let's back up. I'll fact check myself earlier. I said what I felt like was one of his highest ratings, and it still is. But in 2014, Dana was rated 10-15 and 10-13,
which is like 1040 back then. I'm just kidding.
So this is effectively like his third highest rating. Now those were off of 63 and 62 rounds. Currently, he's rated 10-12 off of 8 rounds. Smaller sample size, but he's clearly getting it done. So
with only 8 rounds, that's less mistakes you can make.
There's
only.
I don't know. I love them both, and I can't wait till they battle for the win.
I hope so.
Playoff.
There's none of those guys.
Gotta give it.
Who's
still watching?
Waffling. You're
Are
waffling.
you watching?
Yeah.
Are you there?
You're waffling.
I love you both. Who can get me a better deal on frisbees?
That's the question. That's the question. It's a loser leaves town match. Oh no, EMAC. He's got to leave. It's tough because EMAC could come out and win this. Any of those guys. There's not a guy that I mentioned that I wouldn't be happy to see win.
Correct. Yeah, it's
each one has a story. Because Kale's still chasing his first Masters win, Masters World Championship, not Masters win.
I mean, everyone says when I get to 40,
you're going to run into Joe Revere.
I'm just going to roll over them. I'm not saying Kale said that, but there's some assumptions, and of course, Kale and Joe last year made this, had this incredible battle. And
I know that's why I'm going with Kale. Just by I think it's going to be by like a stroke or two. It's going to be close.
All right.
I don't think anyone's running away with this.
I do. I think it'll be just a little quick context. Revere, that Joe fella, has played in 7 open tournaments, including the Q Series event. He's played in 7 open tournaments this year. He's won 5 of them, and the other 2 he didn't win. He took second in.
Yeah, well, lucky. So let's move. And we want to talk about FPO or FP40.
No, we
already did.
Yeah, we did.
Let's talk about Beaver State real quick with our good friend Nate Doss. Over under 35th place.
How many are there? How many
I don't know. There's probably full field, I imagine. Probably 100, 120 MPO players. 35th place, over under.
And so 35th, we're just for the sake of rounding, we're going to assume that's roughly a third or 40% of the field. There's always been talk about Beaver State being the toughest event to cash in. At least 10-20 was required, 10-20 average. These are all numbers from a couple years ago, so they may be totally wrong by now, but I doubt it. They're probably pretty close.
When I say,
he has to average. Let's just play off of the last couple of years of history.
He's probably got to average 10-25 golf to take top 30.
Let's just assume you have to average 10-25 golf to, in fact, cash and finish in that top 35 spots. It is 3 rounds. It is quote-unquote standard DGPT in the sense that it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Many of you don't know this. Some of you do. Beaver State used to play 1 round on Friday morning, 1 round on Friday afternoon, and then 2 rounds on Friday, so to speak, and then you'd play 1 round on Saturday and 1 round on Sunday. It used to be. In fact, they fought that till the very bitter end in terms of not conforming to the the standard play that we're seeing now today, which is 1 round a day. That, that's all in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years. Some history there. I'll be optimistic, and I will say he will shoot
better than 35th.
Yeah.
Because I've got some money on
That's
this.
a large optimistic
It is.
take. I understand that. And to be fair, in full disclosure, I haven't talked to Nate in the last couple of weeks. I knew this was coming and so on and so forth.
Yep.
I haven't actually had a conversation with him. So before I do put down any big money in the next couple of days, I will call him.
Yeah,
but
before you go to Vegas and drop some cash.
Yeah, but right now I'll go optimistic, and I would put a small friendly wager on it. I'm not betting $500.
No,
but I would put a small friendly wager. Just, and again, maybe optimism and excitement and nostalgia is somewhat clouding my judgment. I'll admit to that, and
me too.
A friendship component to it. But I would just love to see it because it would be such a damn good story.
I have a few.
That's why I'm so optimistic.
I have a few dollars on it. I won't say how many.
Okay.
And slightly better positioning, as in top 50. Someone bet me whether he would take top 50 or not top 35 like I said. So I took that he would do
better than top 50.
Better than top 50.
Yeah, I would bet more money on that.
Yeah. So that was All right. So we'll see how that goes. I'm wishing nothing but the best. It would make me so happy to see him come out and take like a top 20. I think
anywhere in the cash just creates such a great story.
Yeah, that you just come off the couch after 4 or 5 years and you're like, oh yeah, I can still cash at this. Imagine what I can do. And he will be on a featured card. I am guaranteed. I've seen the featured cards. I'm covering this broadcast this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be doing MPO or FPO, then MPO. So, which is fun. I love it because it's the West Coast events, which means
real late for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do I not get any of these West Coast gigs? Those are the ones I need to be on. All those freaking East Coast gigs where I have to be up at 4 in the morning.
I know. We don't start here till like 9 or something.
Damn it.
So yeah. So I'll be covering that, and I've seen he is not on the lead feature card. He will be on the second feature card. There's a really cool storyline behind the feature card too.
Okay.
So I'm not going to spoil it because I imagine they're going to make some little announcement about it. But there's a really
I want to look at who it is, and then let me just ask it this way: if I saw who's on the lead on the final feature card, would I piece together the story in my brain?
You might.
Would I figure it out?
You might.
Okay. Giving me very little confidence there.
Yeah,
not confident in my abilities.
Yeah, is it out on the?
Okay.
Is it?
No,
out?
I don't know that it is. We'll look in the after show.
Okay.
Which for all of our Patreon members, for only $99.99 a month, you can listen into all the shit we talk after the fact.
We're gonna talk some mad shit about Dana
after we get off air. All right. Well, I'll be excited to see what that's comprised of. I'm going to read a few things that I saw that came in off of the board. The Philobetros hole is not gone. Well, unless they're not playing it. It's not necessarily that I think the hole itself is gone. Or maybe it is. But even if it does get played this weekend, they've reduced the par from a 5 to a 4 at one point. Hence, albatross not practical at that point. So the hole itself is the same hole. Now, it's so funny, I don't even remember if it got played last year or not when I was there. Either way,
I don't remember.
If it gets played in any capacity, it's the exact same hole in terms of the challenge, the difficulty, the layout, all the structure of it. It's just that sometime after it was and they did not call it, they did not change it because it was 2'd, but they did, I think, look at the numbers and saw that it was more appropriate a par 4. Tim says, I'll say under, but I think the middle of the pack, which is where Johnny V's bet looks like he has him. Joe says Doss finishes mid 40s, and then that becomes an interesting. Like, again, we're just gonna make up some numbers and say there's 100 people
There's 112.
Okay, I was gonna say we could just click on this and figure out. But anyway, let's say, you know, how good does it still feel? Let's say they're paying 40. We'll make up the number. Well, you got the number there, Johnny.
They're probably going to be paying about 40,
probably paying
45.
44.
Yeah, 44.
Or 45 people. And he finishes 49th. I mean, and is that much different than finishing 43rd? Obviously, financially there is, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. And how are you going to feel? You should feel fine. I guess I just answered my own question. When Doss, so to speak, comes out of this non-retirement, semi-retirement stage, and then whoops all these people, how are they all going to feel like, dude, this guy's making beer, 60 hours a week, and then he just shows up and whoops me?
Well,
but he is a 3-time world champ.
He's a 3-time world champ. I counted down 44 spots. 1022 rated, right around Albert Tom, Drew Gibson, Kevin Jones. Those are your
Robert Burridge. Yeah. Okay.
So and it's funny because Drew came out earlier this week and said he'd love to be able to play around with Nate Doss. Sure. He was an icon growing up, which makes sense, and he won't get a chance to play them first round, but maybe if he's lucky, he can play second or third round with Doss. Okay. So yeah, so you're looking at some of these guys. It's going to be interesting. I really think it's going to be interesting. I do find it funny that he is like the 10th or not even 8th highest rated player in the sport right now. It makes me chuckle because clearly he's not. This rating isn't necessarily accurate. This rating isn't.
I've said that every
accurate.
year, every week in and week out.
They're perfect.
Yeah. I wonder who he will have on his bag. That's another good question.
I am going to take a wild guess and say probably no one.
Yeah, it's either.
But maybe, I know Avery and the family are coming out, so maybe Avery, but I don't even think that. I just don't see that as happening. My guess is that nobody on the bag. That's kind of a Doss thing.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of different caddies. He's had a few. Yep. But it's a pretty short list. And with wanting to maintain more focus probably than ever, I don't know that I would count on.
I wouldn't count on a caddy.
Ray asked, did they replace the basket that screwed Coriolis?
No, they made it worse.
They made the hole wider.
Yeah.
No, last year they had already, I don't know if they re-welded or replaced the basket.
I think the baskets are different now.
I'm not sure what the case was. And it's kind of funny because unfortunately that does stick out for a lot of people. Understandably, it was a crazy scenario, and then it gets replayed and everything else. Funny enough, without harping too much, I'll go ahead and say I still disagree with the decision. The decision was made that it didn't count. And I every time I see the clip, that's the only time I think about it, but every time I see that clip, I always think that's not fair because largely, and here's why, because if Corey would have picked as he did, he picked up the disc, and let's just say he just drops it in the basket and does it at the exact wrong angle, and it slides straight through again, you're saying that in theory shouldn't count either. Correct. Like, that's why I disagree with it. Because it could have happened countless times to one or more people, and that's entirely why I disagree with it. And so we don't need to rehash the whole thing, but I do think about that whenever I see the clip. It's like, it's just not fair. Because all I think about is, and you see him go up and drop it in. All I keep thinking is, what if that fell right through again? What if it went right down, right through again? At that point, yeah.
Tim asks, what's the technology called that makes Beaver State work live? And
cheeseburger.
We call it the cheeseburger. CBRS. It's like personal cellular 4G stations, and let me just say it right now, like, they work okay. They're not great. So the cellular coverage that we get at some of these places somewhat is from the CBRS system, but a lot of it is just better devices that the Pro Tour is rolling with now and better cell coverage. These CBRSs, they're minimal. I'm not going to lie. Like, they do help in certain spots, but they don't have a large radius, especially in the woods. I think people and I'm not saying that this is you, Tim, but I've heard other people are like, oh yeah, these things, a satellite truck and these CBRSs and we're set. And they're like, no, not bloody likely. Like the Cascade Challenge, probably not. The people that think, oh God, we just, they still think to this day, like, just get that satellite truck, man. And people don't realize it's not the satellite truck that's the problem. Wiring any damn course. Like that, it's never the satellite. So if you hear someone, go ahead and say, it's never the satellite truck.
I heard that last weekend somewhere.
I'm sure you did. Like, just get a satellite truck. Unless you're driving the satellite truck out literally to the dead spot. If you can take that truck, drive it through the course right to where that dead spot is, maybe that helps you then. But the satellite truck is probably going to sit in a parking lot like they do at every sporting event, and you have to get the signal now from wherever they are on the course to the satellite truck. So you have to wire this entire course with some sort of CBRS or point-to-point if you're lucky that it's a straight shot and there's nothing in your way, fiber with fiber routers and modem. Like, it's just a hassle. So even to this day, people still think that the satellite truck is the answer when it's not.
I'm just going to buy one.
Do it. Buy a satellite truck, Terry.
How funny would it? It's a stage like, hey guys, I already think of the optics, the picture. Like, hey guys, I'm here to help fix any live broadcast problems, and have like 6 satellite trucks pull up out in front of some course that we know usually has terrible signal. Take the picture, be like, guys, I'm here to fix it, and then it just still
sucks.
Doesn't do the job. It's unfortunate with if or when we'll get there with some of this technology. It's not from a lack of desire or want, that's for sure.
Correct. I think we're probably 5 to 7 years away from good cell signal in some of these really crappy spots. And you're talking about things like, hopefully, Starlink to not just to dishes, but maybe hopefully to more phone-sized devices that then we can have and things like that. But even I am pulling that number right out of my ass.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like something you do.
Speaking of pulling a number out of my ass.
Yeah, let's do it. Random.org is where it's at. This is for all of our favorites, our smashies out there that support us via Patreon. So if you would like your chance, I meant to mention this hours ago, but if you'd like your chance to win, you can head on over to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV and then support us at any financial level that's greater than 0. And your name will be entered into our weekly giveaways. And what I meant to say hours ago that I'll put out there on the socials is, if you are a Patreon supporter that is to receive a disc, you could get exclusive hand delivery this upcoming week if you're going to be at the Worlds. If you're going to be at the Masters Worlds, and I could probably cross-reference this list. I think that sounds like the right term I would use. Cross-reference the Worlds list to our Patreon sub list of people that might be. But we have the discs. Johnny and I can sign some, and I can hand deliver them this next week. So you get them before anyone else. But I don't want to bring, I don't know if I need to bring 2 or 10 or 33, whatever the number is. Maybe we'll do a quick look right after the show. But I would love to just hand it off to you. I'm going to have a booth at the Block Party Fly Mart thing, and step right up and I'll hand you your Smashbox Patreon disc from last year. Here they are. Tim. I'm going to put this right there. This is the exclusive first look at them. Tim Quartz out on the board doing the artwork. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tim.
I think you're trying to say I'm pudgy, Tim, but I am. So
I think I should be more taller than you.
Shut up. Anyway, super excited to get these out to you guys. If you don't put this on your wall, which I understand, you better go out and play some catch with it. It'll be a surprise as to the actual disc when it arrives. But hint, I threw one of these in the 90s. That could be.
I didn't know they still printed Jaguars.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see.
All right, we have 135 people eligible for our giveaway. Terry, what number should we draw for our giveaway?
That's a great question. Let's go with how many has Gannon Burr won this year?
2.
And Paige won her first of the year. Let's go with the third number.
All right. That's how many Anthony Barella's won this year.
That's what I was thinking.
All right.
And then you add those up and you multiply it by 2 Elite Plus events we've had, and you get a dozen roses.
Our first number is 69.
Was there a dozen?
I don't know.
Those?
Our second number is 81, and our third and final number that we're drawing is 113. I sorted them by email address tonight. 113. So I just have to scroll up just a little bit here. It's Lindsay Westberg.
Wow, I think she late last year or middle of last year also won, and she was given her gift. So looks like she's won again.
Looks like she's got another one coming to her. Lindsay Westberg, congratulations.
Oh, so close too. He finally chimed in on the board tonight.
I saw Dan.
Dan Harback, you were one off.
Yeah,
just one spot.
Because your emails both start with S.
Yes. All right, congrats. Thank you so much for the support. We'll make sure to get a little extra action out there. Ray had asked a couple more things off the board before we wrap up. First, Joe, I'm going to read his. He said, then show the truck buried 3 feet in the mud at Northwoods.
Just
pretty funny.
Stuck between 2 trees on like one of the on hole 12. It's wedged.
What are your thoughts on Big Germ on live commentary? Yeah, we've seen Germ now do the Dynamic Disc Open as well as this weekend's. He didn't do OTB. He did Dynamic Disc Open and then this
Portland.
weekend.
I barely listened, honestly.
Yeah,
I listened to the Simon Cast when I did listen on days 1 and 4. I didn't watch a lot of men's on days 2 and 3. I like I said, normally when I do have it on, a lot of times I just have it. No offense to anybody, even Terry when he's doing it, I have it muted.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Just because I tend to do other things, and sometimes I'll turn it on.
I'm just going to call you then. I'm going to call you and be in your earbud.
I'm okay with that. That's
and then
fine.
You can listen to it live that way.
I mean, the little I've heard, I think he's done fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect otherwise. Everyone is, we don't need to rehash the whole concept, but everyone's going to continue to have their likes and dislikes. Is it tough? I saw one person say something along the lines of, is it tough for him to do live and then go do post every night? And is it altering his perspective on the Jomez shot calling? It has to. Like, there's no way it can't. And I'm not just saying that because normally he would say he knows.
He does 2 different jobs, which is funny because on the live broadcast, he's the color. On the Jomez, he's more play-by-play, and Yuli's more color. But, I mean...
Nonetheless, that has to be really tough to know when to play into setting something up and when not to, especially because he watched it with such intensity live. That has to be tough. And that's not really too far away from sometimes when I film. Similarly, I film around and then I commentate on it 8 hours later. It's real tough to decipher of how much, we'll say, faking and or setup or foreshadow you do or don't want to have. Yeah, I don't envy that. He's kind of good at talking, Tim says. And plenty of people said he talks too much. Some people said they would love more insight from him. We're never going to come to a consensus. That's no surprise there, as said about most. With that, I don't know. It's been a full show and then some.
It has.
Holy cow. I keep thinking about like just all of the stuff that Paige gave us updates on and the deeper dive into so much more than just the event. It was really good to talk to her. It's been a minute. And congrats to her on celebrating the birthday as well this last weekend.
33.
Speaking of Big Germ, his wife, Jules, also celebrated her birthday in the last couple of days as well. So, and I know they're good friends. It all somehow ties together. Also, in this birthday time frame, and a little blast from the past, Ragna Big D. And it would be great to see her. I messaged her, of course, happy birthday. But as one of our breakout stars that we saw in like the 2012, 2013, 2014 neighborhood, it would be awesome to see her find her way back out on tour. I don't think it's going to happen. But
like I could see her coming out and playing like a B tier or something like that, or maybe a local A tier at best. But I think she's very happy with the family life.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you so much to our special guest, Dana and Paige. I hope to see a bunch of you, or some of you, or I hope to see all of you, but I won't. As many as I can of you in Emporia. Dana will give you a big hug, and then I'll give you a real big hug. See you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.